Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 320. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V.
A great day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Just in general. I mean, it's one of those great fall days where it's not too cold. It's definitely not hot. It's the type of weather I really liked to have tournaments in. Like this type of weather. It's because it's just a touch chilly.
I was going to say, anything usually like sub 40, I thought you packed it up and you just curled up into a little ball.
Oh, God, no. No, snow.
Yeah.
No, I don't mind
cold.
cold.
Last time you played in sub 40?
Probably 2 years ago.
Okay.
No, just in general, though, like, I'm not a huge fan of snow golf anymore, but the cold weather never really bothered me. It's the snow. It just, everything gets wet and all that other crap. I'll go out and play if someone, calls me and is like, hey, you want to go play some golf? Sure. But most of us, we're getting old and we don't really do that anymore because we're all doing other things these days. And I'm not going to go and play snow golf by myself.
Yeah.
That's just crazy talk.
Well, a big shout out to my boy Johnny Rumble. Took a little adventure with me today where we picked up some cardboard boxes. And if you don't think that's exciting, I've got news for you. To be able to ship your very expensive discs, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 discs that you have, and you need to ship them somewhere in an eco-friendly cardboard reusable box, oh my gosh, you know the guy to look to. 6,300 of them picked up today and ready to deliver them to you if you need them. So thank you, Johnny Rumble. It was a good time actually heading on our little adventure. And I'm going to open with the superstar and one of our favorites of the show and overall great supporter. Happy birthday to Miles Parkhill over at Paragon Disc Golf for all your disc golf needs. I didn't even think about how these tie together. He might be offering some form of a shipping box. Don't buy his. Just buy from this guy.
Wow.
I got those all tied into one, which actually I wasn't even intentionally going to do. But anyway, in all seriousness, happy birthday, Miles. I believe Pat Duncan, who runs the South Florida Open, which I think we're going to be missing this year. That's been a fun one that I've been at and covering for the last couple of years. It is not currently on the calendar, but happy birthday. I saw Pat's celebrating a birthday today as well. And everyone else, if it was your birthday anytime since we last wished happy birthdays, happy birthday to all of you. And until next time. All right, guys, so going to be a fun one tonight. None other than both of our Disc Golf Pro Tour champions.
Well, the Pro Tour wanted to make sure that this event was equal, giving out same first place, same second place,
third, fourth,
same third, fourth,
fifth, maybe.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to go that far. But anyway, so we're going to do the same.
Yes.
We want to give equal time to our FPO and MPO champions.
We are excited. In just a few moments here, we're going to have Hayley King, the Hailstorm. She's going to be joining us. She's out on the road, venturing around, taking in the beautiful country. She's going to join us, and then shortly after we're done talking with Hayley, we will have our MPO champion. That, of course, being Kevin Jones. And should be a lot of fun to have both of them joining us tonight. It almost feels weird with how much I've been around them and how intense things have been over the last few weeks with the WNC, with Jonesboro, the WNC, the USDGC, and then, of course, the Pro Tour Championships. Nothing but high-level golf and stress for everybody over these last few weeks. And a little moment of deep breaths, relaxing, simmering down, all of those things, and it's pretty exciting to do so. All right, Johnny, are you queuing up something here that I should be segueing to? No? Okay. No. Well, then why don't we go ahead on our end? We're going to dial up Hayley and see if we can get her on our Skype call.
All right.
And we'll get talking to her. I see you guys are all tuned in, and we appreciate it. Anytime you click on that little like button or you want to share it with someone, that would be awesome. But thank you for joining us here for tonight and episode 320. Wow, it looks like we got all the regulars out on the board and then some. Love to see it.
Ray, Jeff, Paul, Nova,
Yeah.
Doc Zen. There's some greats. Some of the all-time greats.
Loving it. Of course, then after we talk to both of them, we'll probably have a little additional recap and anything else that somehow didn't get covered or discussed. And then we take a quick break, and we will be giving you an after show sometime after that, usually. Oh, Paul's out there tonight. Good to see you, Paul.
I think Hailey's connected up. She just needs to send us her video. If she can just click the video button. We actually tested with Hailey a couple minutes before. There she is. We are going to bring Hailey in here. But first, let's show a quick clip from this weekend, and then we'll bring on Hailey.
This better be a good one.
It's all right.
Let's see it.
Runner Hayley King for the title. She's done it. Hayley King is your 2020 Disc Golf Pro Tour champion.
Yeah!
Whoop, whoop. Congratulations, champ. Now, the way you sprinted to the basket, there was a cartwheel and a jumping jack. It was incredible. Your excitement. No?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited, yeah.
How do you internalize that? And that's I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but how do you internalize, like, this is such a moment, and
this is the biggest FPL purse of all time. This is, arguably maybe the second biggest title of the year behind the WNC.
And you internalize it. How?
I guess I was just overwhelmed.
Okay. So people then follow up and ask and say, is this how you internalize any big moment? I mean, are you relatively quiet and to yourself and even shy? Is that how you would describe yourself, or no?
I'd say I'm an introvert for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you let's go back to hole 18. For instance, during the regular play, if we go back to hole 18, kind of walk us through a few of those moments where you were watching, you knew what you had to do, you knew what Paige had to do. Kind of walk us through how 18 was playing out in your mind.
So I first got to 17. I did not know the scores at all. And then when I got to 18, Cynthia told me the scores, and I found out that we were 1 ahead or 2 ahead or whatever it was. And my whole goal going off the tee is to just take a Luna and just push it through the gap, and wherever it ends is fine. I trust my backhand to get out that gap more than my forehand, just because it is a weird forehand. And if you get a bad kick forehand, it's going to go into the trees way worse. So I just decided to go backhand, trust myself and put myself in that high pressure situation to perform. And I didn't hit the tree, but then I figured it should be just an easy pitch out. Paige should be able to put it inside the circle. And I thought she was going to, but she had a little miscue. So once I got up to the upshot, I just knew I had to put it within circle 1, and it should be okay. I assumed Paige would run the putt, but I didn't realize it was 60 feet. So once I realized she laid up, I was like, okay, guess we're going into a playoff. This will be fun.
And your putt on 18 was obviously, it was short, but it was still a pressure putt because Paige is laid up under the basket. She's going to be tapping in, and you had all of 12 feet. I mean, do you even get nervous for that 12-footer knowing this is to still push the playoff, or no?
No, I honestly wasn't nervous the entire tournament.
Wow. Where does that mental focus come from? Because I think everybody wants some.
I've just been really focusing on my mental game recently. I've been playing a lot of pool actually against Lindsay and Cynthia, so that definitely helps out, Playing pool to people who aren't that good and then losing to them definitely helps with the mental side, So I don't know.
You're from Wisconsin, just like us. Who was the first person from back home to give you a call after your championship?
I called my dad the second I got off the course, but I only called family. Only family members called me. I don't give my phone number out, so yeah.
Smart move. And what did your dad say?
Well, I answered it, and then a bunch of people were screaming, so
Awesome.
yeah.
All right, so you go. Let's keep going into hole 8, which is the first playoff hole. Let me ask, even, did you know what the playoff holes were going to be before it even got to that point? Like, did you have any idea?
No, I found out as soon as we had the playoff,
Okay.
or
And
like as soon as we stepped up.
how do you feel about that loop specifically? Would you have rather gone to, say, hole 1, which is more customary in a lot of events or something? How do you feel about those 3 holes in general? Were you excited, or did you have any feelings about, like, oh, okay, I like those 3 holes, or any of them?
Yeah, I actually really like hole 8 and 11. So it was really fun to be able to play those again and just be able to change up my game plan from the final round to the playoff. I went a little more safe the first round, and then for the playoff, I decided to go a little bit more aggressive.
Okay, and you ultimately, when you threw your approach shot on 8, you were you were short and up on the hillside, or on the kind of on the mound, we'll say. You had that putt. Was that one that you felt like was makeable for you? Were you confident with that putt? So the first playoff hole?
Yeah, it was like behind those trees, right?
You were. I feel like you were up on the mound. As I'm looking at it, up on the right as I'm pointing. But you were maybe long circle 2.
Yeah, so I think I was behind. There was one tree in my way,
Okay.
and then I would have ran it, but it was just too small of a gap for me to comfortably run it. So yeah.
Okay, so then Paige has the obstructed putt from the left side of the fairway. And were you paying any attention to her getting lined up and the fact that she discovered a snake or anything like that? Did any of that?
Well, so we were on opposite sides of the fairway at that time. So I had no idea. I just saw her keep moving, and I'm like, what is going on? And then I found out after she putted.
Yeah,
there was a snake by her disc.
Yeah, which is funny. Today I spent like 2 seconds to watch a little bit of the playoff, and Jamie and Val were talking, and Paige was getting ready, and you just see her like kicking around the tree, the leaves, and getting her positioning, and then all of a sudden you see her like kick a little more aggressively. There was I don't know, maybe a little 8 or 10-inch snake that looked literally like the size of a worm in terms of its girth, and she startled. And she's like, all right, get this snake out of here. She's like, she wasn't a fan of it, understandably. So that's funny that you didn't know on the other side of the fairway that it was happening.
Because I thought I heard something, but I wasn't sure.
So she has one little branch that she's frustrated because she thought she should have maybe straddled. She hits the branch. Obviously, you guys push into the second hole, and then you peer that shot. What'd you throw, and what were you trying to accomplish there?
I threw my stalker, and I threw it exactly how I wanted to. I threw the stalker basically on every hole. It's a really good woods disc, so yeah.
For someone that's not familiar with a stalker, how would you explain it? You say it's a good woods disc, but what are some of the normal characteristics, at least for when you're throwing it?
It's usually just straight, and then sometimes it gets a little right turn, but it usually has some fade. It's honestly a longer buzz. It's a beaded 7-speed, so.
And I was just going to say, it's not a high-speed driver, which is what a lot of people would probably assume. I mean, it's got a kind of a smaller rim to it, and it's only a 7-speed, as you say, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you throw that. Paige kicks off to the right, and then can't get out of the position she's in. Did you think you had it at that point?
Honestly, yeah. In practice, I've been throwing that little backhand hyzer around that tree, so I knew I'd be able to pull it off just having the confidence. So, yeah.
Now, I cheated a little here. I ran into Paige yesterday. I think you maybe had just got done doing some interview stuff, so I had a conversation with Paige about all of this. But did you realize where you were and where Paige was as you guys got to after you had thrown your shots? It was her third and your second. Did you realize once you got to the putting green where you both were?
No, not really.
Because some of the chatter online was that everyone thought Paige was either much closer than you were.
But yet Paige stepped up to her lie and putted before you. And at first I thought, oh, it must be so close, but it truly did look like you were out.
I think mine was farther out, but I don't really care about that. If it's like pretty close and somebody else is ready to go, you can just go. So it didn't really bother me at all.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was any sort of mental or advantage or disadvantage to that, knowing that, you know, Paige misses that or makes it, what then you're going to end up doing. So I was kind of surprised that Paige just stepped up and threw, and maybe she just assumed you had that one and she wanted to let you putt last.
I'm not sure.
Well, I am almost sure.
Oh,
And
there
Paige thought the same thing I thought, which is when we were walking to the green and then she went to putt, I thought, okay, well, that's where Paige is. And then Paige was thinking what I did, which is, oh, you're underneath the basket. Like, you're super close. You threw your approach shot. It looked really good out of your hand. And then it was a black disc and a ton of leaves. And so Paige thought, just like me, that you were like, 5 feet away. Like, you were right there under the basket or super close to it. And so she didn't even know where you were. She just assumed you were closer. And then she said she was ready. So obviously then with all of that, she just got up and putted. And then she realized that you were actually, you know, maybe even a few steps outside of her. So it's funny because her and I were thinking the exact same thing, apparently. And it wasn't anything intentional.
Yeah, you guys couldn't see because we actually saw it skip past the basket just a little bit, clearly, the 20 whatever feet it was.
So, I mean, I think we know, right? If Paige would have missed that, would you have just pitched under the basket?
No.
See, that's crazy. That's someone being young, like having an extra stroke. I mean, from people who have seen some of the Calvin incident at USCGC, just crazy things happen. Everybody, I guarantee you, at home would have been screaming, "Lay it up, Hailey! Lay it up!"
Why is she running that?
Yeah, but I mean, you know your game better than anybody, so.
I mean, and you've got the ice in your veins. It doesn't matter.
It was like 20 feet too, so.
But that could like hit the side of the basket
up and
and
roll.
roll 30 feet.
It's
could
tough.
happen.
It's pretty leafy there. That's not as likely, but we all know it could happen. But thankfully that
none of that matters.
None of it mattered.
All right, so you step up. You know this is for the win. You know this is everything, and clearly you think nothing of a 20-footer. No nerves, just regular old backyard putt for you, huh?
Yeah. When you do it hundreds of thousands of times, it's pretty easy, I guess. I don't know.
As it should be. That should be how you approach every single putt. But as we know, things change. Things happen. Scenarios are different for every person, what's going through their head. I mean, there are probably a lot of people that are thinking, oh, my God, this is basically a $10,000 putt.
Yeah,
the difference between second and first, and that none of that just even not for you.
Hailey, you just said, that putt, hundreds of thousands. No one's ever stepped up to a putt for $20,000 before in disc golf.
True.
So, like, it's incredible,
Well,
and I love the confidence. I love the ice. I love
She's
all
really
of that.
damn lucky that we're not in her head.
Yes, we were nervous for you. Oh my gosh, what a moment. And then I know I gave you a hard time as we opened the show, but just that's all internal. You're no fist pumping, no hollering, no running or hugging or cartwheel, like nothing. You just strolled up to the basket. Like, hey, is my check here? I'm here to collect it. It's in the basket. Awesome. It's just incredible.
At any point afterwards, did you get emotional? Or is that just not your style? Were you relieved? Were you anything? Or just kind of on to the next?
I think I was more so shocked that I actually pulled it off. Yeah. I didn't get emotional. I just called my dad. I mean, like, I was really happy, but I didn't cry or anything.
Yeah, and not that anyone expects you to or you need to or anything. It's just everyone kind of processes a little bit differently as to that moment, and it was incredible. Now we'll go to the flip side, and I'll bust you out a little. You celebrated. That's a fair statement.
Yeah.
I saw your Instagram. Did you go get a fresh new downtown Charlotte hotel room and some room service with 32-ounce steak. Is that what I saw?
So what happened was our host, Brant, he works at a bunch of like parking garages, I think, in Charlotte. So he knows everything in Charlotte. And he took us to, can't remember what it was called, but it was like at the top of the building was this restaurant, and it was really nice restaurant. Definitely the nicest restaurant I've ever been to. Yeah, it was nice.
What did you wear? Were you all dressed up, or were you?
No, I wore Adidas joggers and then an Adidas hoodie.
Nice.
Keeping it real.
That's right. No,
Yeah,
that's
like
great.
champ rolls in.
And you got yourself a nice big juicy steak, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Was it good? It was a good steak?
Yeah.
So $20,000. Are you 20 years old?
19.
19. You're 19 years old. You've got $20,000 in your pocket. What are your plans? Like, do you have anything extravagant you're going to go out and buy? Are you just going to stuff this away and say, cool, this is future tour money? Like, are you going to splurge a little bit?
I think I'm going to save most of it, but some of it I am going to use so I can train this off season and actually train the whole entire season and just be dedicated more. Yeah.
When you say train, does that mean you want to go meet with someone specific, or is that a gym membership, or is that a program? What are some of the things you're thinking about, and what are you trying to work on when you say train?
Well, so I definitely want to like get a personal trainer, and then I want to like for muscles and stuff, you know, being healthy. And then I want to work with a couple disc golfers to just improve my game by just expanding my knowledge and stuff. So, yeah.
Where do you think your game needs the most improvement? I mean, you're one of the top backhands. You're one of the top forehand throwers. You're one of the best. The funny thing is, I think you're one of the best long putters in the field. But I'm looking at your stats. You didn't hit a single circle 2 putt all weekend. You were 0 for 9.
Yeah,
I know.
Well,
that's the one
that's
thing
not normal.
That's not normal, and that's what I was curious about. I looked at it, I was like, holy crap, she was second in parked percentage, but I looked at it, I was like, whoa, that's an empty circle. That's not like Hailey.
Yeah.
So what do you want to work
on? It
on?
was a little cold though, so I just need to get consistent. That's my biggest problem is I spray a lot of shots. Like I'm either on and I'm doing really good, or I'm just spraying a bunch of shots. But, yeah.
And does that come... Go ahead.
I want to also work on my backhand driving. Like, it might be good, but there's some stuff that can be fixed, and I can be
for everyone who maybe doesn't know, what do you feel like when you're throwing a golf shot, or maybe even just a max shot in an open field, where do you max out with your forehands and your backhands, roughly?
Forehands, probably like 400. Backhands, I don't really know, but I can probably reach like 420, 425 right now.
Okay. Which puts you in a very elite class. There's really just a few other women in the U.S., at least, that throw that far, and you play against a couple of them almost every single weekend. So you've definitely got another level or two on your backhand. Is that what you're saying?
I think so, yeah.
I would
well,
agree.
as long as she drives and she sees Paige Pierce in front of her, she's got work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I know I asked you this during the interview, but what do you feel like are some of the things? I'll be a little more generic. What do you feel like are some of the things that you do pick up from the more veteran players, whether it's Paige Pierce as a teammate or any of the other pros? I mean, a lot of these women have been playing for quite a few years, or longer than you, at least in the pro circuit. What do you feel like you pick up from most of them, or any of them?
So for Paige, she knows how to throw a frisbee on almost every single angle. Same thing with Kat and Sarah Holcomb. That is the reason why they're as good as they are, is because they can control every single aspect of the frisbee. So that's what I want to learn, and I'm doing a lot better at it, but it takes some time.
I think you need maybe one of those Crystal Fierces. Is that what Paige was throwing? It seemed like she
throws those a lot.
Yeah, what was that?
She gave me one after the tournament.
Oh, well,
See?
it's really, and that already was going to work in your favor because you know you're both going to throw it on one hole, and then she's going to play from the wrong one, and she's going to get a stroke like she did in Jonesboro. Like, perfect. You're like, oh, yeah, this means so much more than.
Just wait. I got to pull it out at the right time. Well, that's great. Yeah, because I mean, we obviously watched her throw that. You know, that was like her woods disc, and she just was able to throw that on any angle hit any gap, and it's obviously it's more blunt edge disc as opposed to a lot of the division that are throwing sharp edge discs and trying to get down the fairway.
And when it hits a tree, it's gonna stop.
Yeah.
Where a driver is just gonna kick further into the woods.
Yes.
Yeah, and the fact that I think you can take, just like Paige, you can take advantage of then clubbing down to that putter and throwing that so much more precisely than when you're, a lot of the other women will need to throw something much sharper and then have less control over it. And that's where I think you can really take advantage of the power and the power that you have more than anything. So this is all in the books, this incredible event. You're talking about training in the off season. Let's think ahead a little bit to next year and what you see yourself. What's your tour look like? What does your lifestyle look like? Whether it's touring partners or vehicles or plans, what does 2021 kind of look like? Assuming we're kind of back to a little bit of the normal. What does 2021 look like for you?
I think I'm gonna hit all the pro tour events and then some national tour, but I'm pretty sure I'll be skipping GBO.
Okay, why that one specifically?
I don't know. It's weird.
Okay.
It's a weird event. I don't have any interest of going there,
Okay.
Like it's not necessarily fun for me to be there. But for touring plans, I got a car, so I'll be touring in that, and then I'll just be like in Airbnbs and staying at people's houses.
Well, two follow-ups. One, speaking of staying at places, Hannah Macbeth is on the board begging for you to come hang out, I think, in Virginia right now. So simmer down, Hannah.
She's going the other direction right now.
So. And secondly, I mean, maybe I'm just guessing here, but you said earlier you're an introvert, and GBO is like the largest, party of the year with 1,500 people. I'm assuming that part of that crazy atmosphere just doesn't necessarily excite you like it does some others.
Yeah, I don't care to party. I don't do that. So.
And I don't just mean like party and get rowdy. I just mean like there's people everywhere. Yeah. So most of the pro tours, what it reflect a little, if you could, on 2020 and the pro tour and what that's meant to you. I mean, obviously you won this event, but kind of reflect on playing golf in COVID on the pro tour here in 2020 now that it's done for you.
So starting out the year, I had a Subaru Outback, right? And I was touring in that. Everything was going fine. Then COVID happened. I decided I had to go home. I wouldn't be able to stay on the road. So I went home, and then a couple weeks later, my car got destroyed. So I got a job at Pizza Hut to get some money and buy a new car. And I didn't think tour was going to happen this year. So I just, kept the job and just kept going on, doing me, putting and everything. And then next thing you know, tour picked right back up, and there I went.
You're like, peace out, Pizza Hut.
No, I was going to say, so have you used all your vacation days? Are you? I mean, when's your next shift? I'm not sure.
Wow. I mean, that's obviously incredible that we had a tour, and the fact that, you jumped right back on it. What was the biggest lesson you learned on the tour this year? Maybe about travel, accommodations, dealing with other people, teammates, non-teammates, like anything. It could be positive or negative, but anything you feel like, 2020 really taught me blank.
It taught me that in order to be your best, you have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the best opportunities. and like positive people and everything.
I love it. That's very insightful and seems absolutely spot on. Now, here's a good opportunity. Who are some of the best that you found yourself surrounding yourself with? Some of your, whether it's friends or again teammates or non-teammates.
Brian Earhart and Lindsay Rodans, and then Noah Minsma, the CBS kid, Gavin Rathbun, and all those boys.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it sounds like
a good crew.
and it sounds like a lot of Midwestern folk. Every
Yep.
one of those people, Minnesota, Illinois. Yeah, very, very cool. Also, another good friend, you said how Cynthia Ricciardi was going to go home, and you kind of convinced her to stay and hang out, and she caddied and was there along with you.
Did she get a caddy bonus? Little one?
I asked her if she wanted one, and she said no, it's fine.
She got in on the stake action though, right? Like on
Yeah.
All right, well that's good then. That's
can't mess with the bonus stake.
someone on the board asks, what means the most to you from this win? Is it the money, the title, or the possible ESPN exposure,
Or something else.
or something else? Yeah.
I think it's more so that I just finally proved to myself that I do have what it takes and that I can make this a career for the rest of my life. Or as long as it takes me,
Yeah. Is that what is this going to mean for touring next year? I mean, we know a lot of players that, and I would think, especially FPO with the smaller field and smaller payout, it's a struggle sometimes to live on the road. Is this going to make it easier for you? Do you see yourself, hopefully selling more Hailstorm discs or, and merchandise and making it easier for you to travel? Or what are your hopes?
Yeah. I mean, it should make traveling a lot easier. I'm going to have some money in case stuff happens, and I'll have that to fall back on. So it's just really reassuring to have it. Yeah, hopefully I'll be getting some more merch and stuff.
All right.
Yeah. Like you just said, a rainy day fund is awesome to have that tucked away in case, like you said, something goes wrong. But, we've seen you with Ladies First, and we've seen you doing stuff with Ridge Roller. I'm trying to think about your sponsor. Sorry. Do you feel like that's something that is crucial to time on the road and to being able to survive on the road, is kind of collaborations, partnerships, sponsorships with a couple of different companies? And are you looking for any more that maybe fill a need that you currently don't have filled?
I think it's definitely helpful, and they're the only reason I was on the road, like at the beginning. They definitely helped make my career a possibility. Right now, I'm not looking for any more sponsors. I have it all pretty set good right now. So,
Well, everybody's looking for another sponsor for the right price.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, if something cool happens.
That's
then-
right.
I mean, you could always use a
towel sponsor,
a shoe sponsor.
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
A
right?
car sponsor.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely room for more sponsors, Hailey. Don't shut yourself out.
No, but yeah, that is. It's also in the same breath. It is very exciting and refreshing to hear that you feel like you're taken care of. Obviously, everybody can always do a little more, but you feel like you're taken care of, and your main needs are set, and you have the sponsors that fulfill those needs, and I think that's awesome to hear. Really. Do you want to give a quick shout out to any and all sponsors as we're going to let you go here in a little bit? Any quick shout outs or thanks you'd like to give out to the disc golf community and world? Because a lot of people have been saying, yeah, we didn't have award ceremonies this year, so a lot of those additional accolades don't get thrown around. You got any you want to share?
Yeah, I want to thank my sponsors, Discraft. They have the best and most consistent discs in the game. And then I want to thank Gibson Industries. It's Drew Gibson. He runs that. He's been very helpful to me this year. He's also a really great friend. I'd like to thank Ladies First. They do all of my hats, shirts, and whatever I need to be done, she gets it done, and she's been one of my earliest supporters. And then I'd like to thank Perfect Putt. It's an app that you can get. It definitely improves your putting. That's what I use in the off season. I highly recommend it. And then Custom Stacks, they take care of me very well. And then Ridge Roller, they have the best bags on the market. You can sit on them, and they're really not that heavy at all. And the straps are really nice, so they don't hurt your back. Yeah.
Awesome. I think about watching Cynthia, and all I kept thinking is neither of you are sitting on that bag. I know that's like one of the greatest features of that bag, and I never saw either of you sit on it, but obviously I know people can, and what a great advantage as we're seeing, people walk around with chairs all the time and be able to sit right on your bag. That's the way to go. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What would you say you're most looking forward to in 2021? And I know we've kind of asked you what it looks like, but what are you most looking forward to? Whether it's a stretch, a set of tournaments for it just to get started, whatever.
Are you going to, if there is, are you going to Europe?
Probably not. I don't have friends over there really, and I don't want to just go over there by myself. So I'm going to wait a year or two for that. But next year, I'm just really excited to play disc golf. This is going to be, for most events, it'll be my third time playing it, so I'll have a lot more experience playing them. So I'm just ready to play golf. I know I can.
Are you? And I'll follow that up and say, are you at all sad? Like you're coming off this big win. Are you sad that there's not another big tournament next weekend, or that you're not in any kind of, you know what I mean? Do you want to just keep things rolling right now, or are you good with like, okay, we're gonna settle down and call the year good?
I mean, it is what it is, but I love playing disc golf 24/7. So if there were a tournament every weekend,
Yeah. Okay. That sounds like a 19-year-old. That makes perfect sense. And in short-term plans, are you going to be are you playing A tiers or B tiers or anything over the next few weeks or months? Where might someone see you on out on the course at a tournament?
I honestly have no idea. I might play some events in California or Texas, maybe. Really depends what I actually do this off season and where I decide to go.
I was just gonna follow that up because I have a funny story about Paige and what she's planning. So my question to you is, do you know where you're going? Like, do you know where you'll be in 7 days?
I'll be in California.
Okay.
I think I'll be in like Riverside, California, near LA.
Okay.
It's where my sister's boyfriend's sister lives. So we're going to go visit her. And then, yeah, I have some friends in California that I'll be staying with.
Okay. Well, that's a lot more than what Paige Pierce knew. She's like, she funny story yesterday. She said, I'm getting in my car and I don't even know what highway I'm getting on. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, okay.
Freedom.
So you're way ahead of her. You have some idea of where you're headed. All right, Hailey, is there anything we didn't ask you about that you'd love to share with the world? That open mic here.
I don't think so.
All right.
How did we do? Did we give you some good questions?
Yeah.
All right.
You did good.
Thanks.
All right. Well, Hailey, it's been awesome. I remember you and your dad playing in a tournament or some tournaments I ran forever ago back in like New London, and watching you grow and thrive and succeed and take to the tour, represent Wisconsin, represent all of your sponsors and everything that you've done. You know, when Paige says she knew your time was coming, I think there's a lot of people, myself included, that knew your time was gonna show up. It was just a matter of which weekend was it going to be. And everybody's really proud of you, and congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, Hailey, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on an awesome weekend, and enjoy whatever you do during the off season, your training, your steak dinners, whatever it is. But we look forward to seeing you as 2021 kicks off.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys too.
All right.
Good night.
Take care. See ya. And there you have it. And we could have got another plug in there for her, along with Perfect Putt. I'm sure she will be doing that during the off season, working
certainly
on that. As she's already a deadly putter, and she'll
just have to
say it. She gives plenty of credit to Perfect Putt.
She'll just have to like back up those numbers You know, rather than starting at whatever 10 feet I think it maybe starts at, just have her start at like 25 and work her way out, because she clearly has everything from 20 and in pretty solid and deadly, as we know.
Yeah, I feel like there is zero hesitation in her putt, and then the flip side of that would be 100% confidence. Like, it's incredible watching her just jam them in from any distance that her attempts come from.
And she does. She jams them in. That's. I think the only person that maybe putts harder than her is Holly Finley lately, who just really slams them in there. And the best part is, I rarely see her miss left or right. If she misses, it's high or low, but you rarely see her have to hit a comeback putt, which is pretty amazing. Real quick, is Kevin Jones available, or do we want to wait?
Looks like we got Kevin is ready to go any second now. I don't know if there's something else you want to share before we dial him.
Well, I was just going to quickly talk about. I just want to go over the rest of the results for the event for the FPO.
Let's quickly read off and recap all the non-winners, if that's the polite way you're trying to say that. We'll get Kevin on in just a moment. But yeah, as we saw, incredible battle, incredible playoff. Of course, Paige Pierce taking second to her.
It hurts to say, but taking third, because I honestly thought it was hers it was hers up until 17.
The infamous 17.
Infamous hole 17. A different infamous hole 17 that we're seeing. Katrina Allen, who just couldn't get through. That's a very difficult hole, but she just couldn't get to the green, and when she did, she had a couple issues with her putt there. Not easy putts to hit either. They weren't like gimmies, and it was an uphill putt. She missed one from about 25. It looked like it went right under the basket, but actually got up and rolled past it, and then she hit the front of the basket, and it kind of rolled back, and then she hit the top of the basket, and it kicked down. Finally, she put it, dead center. It was a little gut-wrenching to watch. My jaw hit the floor.
Yeah, and I will say, just to cap that thought off, is hole 17 obviously has that elevated basket on the rock, and therefore I can understand the additional challenge were there. I think a lot of people would be like, well, she struggled with short putts, which is of course true. However, this wasn't just a typical putt inside the circle, and then with every time you're throwing nose up into the elevated or at the elevated basket, it just brings in so many more doubts and whatnot. And I'm not trying to dismiss the challenge she had there. It was clearly a struggle and clearly not what we were expecting. However, I think I do think that it says so much more when it was that elevated basket, and then rollaways can happen on top of it. It just brings in any doubt you have, gets magnified, is what I would say there. And then rounding out the card is Texas's own
Lisa
Fekes.
Fekes,
yes.
So and Lisa, unfortunately, she started out pretty poorly the first couple holes, and then much like the MPO division and Calvin Heimberg, this is the type of format where you almost, if you get behind, you start pressing.
Yeah.
Because you need to make it out. You don't have another day. You don't have another round.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to really start going, and that's difficult. And that's, I think, what happened to Calvin as well, where you get off and you try to catch up, and this course can really brutalize you when you try that. And Lisa just kind of started out poor, and there was no way for her to catch up.
Yeah.
And, but she looked like she was in good spirits out there having fun. And, it's hard not to when she was kind of the dark horse coming in to this particular round. We all know Lisa is a pretty solid player. So,
yeah. All right. So congratulations to all of them. All four women took home their largest paydays ever. In this weekend. So I thought that alone was pretty incredible. All four of those women increased their career highest payout by still finishing in the positions they did this weekend. So that says something in itself. And hats off to the Disc Golf Pro Tour, to Grip 6, and all of the Disc Golf Pro Tour sponsors and supporters and partners to make that happen.
Well, much like Hayley King, we have another winner in our green room, but before we bring him on, we're going to go through some quick. We're going to give a little quick highlight of his final round.
Oh, let's take a quick look. We got a minute and a half of some sweet action.
Yeah, our audio is live in this too, and so is his. If he wants to, if he wants to mention or talk about it, I think people can hear him.
Looks like we're watching hole
this
two.
This is hole number 2, the island hole. It's
little putter shot there by Kevin.
Just gets up right under the basket. This is hole number 3. This has to be, or this at the time was the best drive I have ever seen on this hole.
100%.
Until yeah, 100% says Kevin. Until the next guy who comes up and throws it and puts it about 6 inches further.
It's like they toured together. Maybe they gave each other tips. We move over to the green of hole number 5, and that's a solid putt.
Yeah, good solid putt there. And this, I left this in for a specific reason. I think we all know what it is. He has a tendency now, can we say, of falling. I heard somebody yell, "Get in the hole" when he did
Of course.
that. And then, of course, the final putt.
That is the best way to be oh so cold, as he says. And welcome to the show, our Disc Golf Pro Tour MPO champion, Kevin Jones. KJ USA, how you doing tonight, buddy?
What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course.
Yeah, I know we just had you, but when you take down an event like this as well, you come on back to SmashBoxx, and we appreciate it. So, what are we, 48 hours removed? Has it all set in?
Slowly, but pretty surely. It's been a cool experience because all of the really important stuff you try to push out of the way when the tournament's going on. So now it's kind of like I can remember some of the stuff that I was trying to push out of the way.
You know, Hailey a few moments ago was talking about her final putt and not really being nervous and how she's practiced, thousands of those, and it was no big deal for her. And I said, but no one's ever made a putt for 20 grand before. She did it just hours before you had to. How much was the money in the back of your head or in the forefront of your brain? Either or.
Upcoming to the event, much more than in that final round. The final round didn't have that kind of feeling to me entirely, just because I was playing with some of these guys that I was really comfortable with. I feel like Austin Hannum, somebody who I toured with for a couple years actually, and have just played countless rounds with. Calvin Heimberg is just one of the nicest guys out there on tour, and extremely high level and fun to play with in the woods. And then Chris Dickerson as well, somebody I've played tons of rounds with and is just a blast to play with. So I had a really good emotions on the card.
Now I'll follow that up and ask, and of course we'll never know, but do you feel like things could have been different with people maybe you're not as close with? And I know you're a huge fan and supporter, and a great card mate and cheerleader for everyone, but some of those relationships are a little closer than with some of the other MPO players. Did that factor in?
Yeah, I mean, there was there's some possibility of that, but the way that I felt that day was a way that I don't really feel like all the time, obviously, but it was a feeling of, I know I'm gonna play good out here, and there's no other possibility of anything else happening. My putt was just feeling too good. I wasn't going to mess up a single sidearm that was in front of me. And then as long as I could keep my putters in mid straight when I'm throwing off of the tee on a few shots, then I would have a really great round.
So I know this is kind of a big question, but how does this course rank for you personally? And if we look at the 12 or 13-ish courses that were on the Pro Tour this year, where does this one rank for you, just in terms of how much you like it or like to play it?
It's tough to say. I think it's one of the most fun courses to play, especially if there's not money on the line, because the shots are super long. There's tons of trees, and at the end of the day, who knows what's going to happen when you're just a little bit off out there. And so that part can be a little bit frustrating. But at the same time, the fairways are really clean, and they're asking for specific shots, and that's what we want at the top level of wooded golf. So, I mean, where does it rank on my top scale? It probably ranks around Northwood Gold, which is like one of your better wooded courses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk over the last day or 2 days about the format, about how, is this the best format for the finale? The elimination style, the fact that you only get one chance. Do you like this format slightly different than the rest of the season? Do you think it should be more like a tournament, or do you have a different idea?
I think that the changes they made this year were great. I like how they're trying to make your seed matter and be more important. Just like in the PGA Tour, they actually give, like, if you're the number 1 seed going into that finale, you get like a 2-stroke lead on the field going into the tournament or something. And that's a cool concept as well. We could look into that. I also enjoy the idea of like match play. I don't know if that's too strange, but just 1v1 match play, a bracket like that would be epic. And if it's not the Pro Tour, somebody needs to do that again. We need to see that for sure.
I'm not going to say that it's being thought of and that there's possible plans, but let's just keep an eye out maybe later this season, or this off season, I mean. So,
well, and speaking of which, a memory popped up on mine in the last couple of days about the World Championship match play and the Players Cup and what that evolved into. And it was in Texas for a couple of years. Steve Dodge got a ton of money and put that out there. And for some reason, it didn't take to the spectator base like we thought it would. But maybe it needs to come back.
Bring it back.
You're ready. You're ready to take some fools down.
I never had the chance.
It was before your time, Kevin. It was before your time.
I know. I have a DVD. I definitely have a DVD of it.
Okay. With the way the tour kind of is set up, and I know it kind of piggybacks on what Johnny was just asking, we really start out in the more open section of the country, starting out the season, your Vegas and your Memorial style courses, and then it continually gets more and more wooded throughout. I feel like really the rest of the year as we then venture all the way over to the East Coast, do you feel like the finale should be in close proximity to the USDGC and is a place like Charlotte just a no-brainer, or is there any other part of the country you'd love to see it maybe shift back over to for the final event, kind of change things up?
I don't really have any preference at all. I think playing in Charlotte is extremely convenient for us as travelers.
Okay. Yeah, I think, our first couple of years, well, the first year it was at Smugs because it just piggybacked on the final event of the year. And then the next couple of years it was at Florida, which was a relatively open course. Mm-hmm. And then obviously these last couple of years at Charlotte. Do any of us know where next year's is? Has it been decided?
I don't think it's been decided officially, but I would have to assume it's Charlotte again. But I don't know. So the ESPN thing, how excited are you about that? You were doing some extra work yesterday with the Pro Tour, and just kind of getting things set up, I'm assuming, with some of the camera guys. Walk us through that a bit.
Yeah, well, Jomez had like a professional setup for us with like a white backdrop that we got some nice B-roll footage of. So they got a bunch of that, and then we also did a few interviews out on hole 12's green. So they got us talking a little bit. I mean, it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait until that comes out, obviously.
Yeah. And that kind of goes on with the question I asked you right after you won, which is you're such an athletic, sports-oriented guy and family, and your dad and the coach and all of that stuff. Like, does it mean more to you, maybe? I know it's a tough question, but does it mean more to you than the kid that wasn't as into sports? You know what I mean? Like the kid that was good at skateboarding and then just, fell into disc golf and is really good, where you're such an athletic, you're such a sportsman.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably fair to say, but now in today's current day, SportsCenter is reposting all kinds of videos, athletic-based videos. So if there's like a disc golfer out there now that doesn't really like SportsCenter, that would surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it. I just think like you compared to a lot of our other disc golfers, you've probably consumed more ESPN or Sports Center than most. Is that a fair statement, you think?
Yeah, it's likely.
Okay. Okay. So what does your next couple of months look like, and how do you prep for 2021? What are you going to be all up in the mix of this next couple of months?
Well, the best thing for us to do as players is to go on vacation that doesn't really involve disc golf, at least have a little bit of time like that. So I'll figure out something to do. I haven't yet, but I did just buy a van, so I'm going to be working on converting it for most of my time, actually.
Nice. Get one of those, find a friend who does a little bit of video work and put together a nice blog series for everybody, and so if they can see the progression of your van build, because everybody has a unique style. Everybody has differences they put in theirs, you know, so
I think that's a great idea.
You're 72. Yeah. I mean, I want to see a 72-inch flat screen in there. And
Me too. That'd be sick. I'm thinking of a projector. What do you think of that?
Okay.
A projector actually would be pretty cool because you could slide that out and you can put it wherever, you know? That's
exactly.
great.
So
that's what we're imagining.
I'll ask then, you have, everybody now has the luxury. We've seen, you know, Alyssa Van Lannen and Nate Perkins and Paige Pierce, Lisa Fakis, James Conrad, Greg Barsby, GK Pro, and Blaine. We've seen all of these van build-outs. What have you learned? Like, what parts will you absolutely do, and what parts will you absolutely skip or forego after having all these people go before you?
Oh man, there's so much to it, but like the main things are obviously do the simple things right, like your insulation and your wiring. And no, you have to know everything. Like you have to know literally where you want everything before you even start, because the wiring's got to be the first thing done. So yeah.
Solar panels? You'll do solar or no?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll have solar. I will have a sink. I will have an instant hot water heater, so that I can like have like a handheld shower. I'll have a little cutting board space. Let's see. I will have an electric stovetop with an electric oven for like a pizza. I'm staying almost 100% electric because we're gonna go heavy on the solar. At least that's the plan, as of right now. So I've got a buddy that is in construction and has a bunch of different connections as far as like your insulation and cabinets and stuff.
That's awesome.
If right now, if you said, I'm going to mostly mimic one van, whose do you think you most will go after? If you had to pick a style or a layout, whose do you like the best right now?
Probably. Well, they all have. The important thing is taking one thing from everybody and kind of making a combination of them. But that's so tough for me. Like, I think that the idea behind Nate Perkins' van is pretty similar to what I'm going to want. I mean, he's got a bed in the back with your sink on one side and then cabinets and stuff. I think he just has like the most full built out kind of thing that I've seen, at least.
Okay.
But my buddy Luke's can make you appreciate the simplicity of it, because he doesn't have anything other than a couple storage boxes and and like some fans up top, but yeah, his is really comfortable as well.
We should probably talk about some of the golf.
Now, I want to know where you're sleeping, Kevin.
Yeah, you're creepy that way. No, all right. You've already got a reputation, Terry.
Yeah,
we don't need to. So let's talk a little bit about the final round. Very early, we saw Austin and Kelvin kind of fall off the pace. They were more or less out of the conversation by about hole 7. There was they weren't going to catch up. So it was you and Dickerson basically going almost head to head up until I'm looking. Yeah, through like hole 12 almost. I think you guys were practically tied. How did you feel? Clearly, you know, looking over at Chris and matching. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I had this feeling out there that I just wasn't going to miss. Like, I didn't have any doubt on the putting green. I felt like I was just guiding the disc into the basket, like we all want to feel on those great putting days. And so I'm looking at my routine for what I did that day, like because I want to know personally why I felt so amazing. I had a smoothie from Smoothie King. It was a strawberry kiwi freeze or something like.
Wait, let me
strawberry.
write this down. Let me write this down.
I know everybody is writing this down. Don't worry.
Yeah, I had one today too. It was the funniest thing. I'm going back to see what that's going to be like.
All right, so just off to a good start. Everything in the morning was just feeling good, including the smoothie got you going.
Did you watch any of the FPO? Because sometimes we see you walking along with the FPO in the morning. I think earlier in the tournament we saw you and Heather Young just kind of cruising around, checking up, taking in some of the action. Did you do that at all
Sunday?
Yeah, so on the final day, the difference was I almost gave up my whole shot entirely at the $20,000 because my backhand mid-ranges and backhand putters were feeling horrible, and they were completely – I was having the yips with them practically. So I went to a course actually when the women were playing, and I had AirPods on, and I was listening to the commentary on it, but it wasn't watching.
Well, sidetracking quickly to that, what did you think of the battle there?
Oh, it was oh my gosh, it was so awesome. The crazy thing, obviously, is coming down the stretch, so many strokes can be exchanged, and it happened. And then there was a crazy, potential for anybody to take it on hole 18. And so I got to watch that. And then I actually drove there and made it for the playoff, got to see the playoff.
I so want to go back further, but let's finish up with this. Let's finish up with this round before I talk about the semifinals real quick. I only have one question. So going into hole 18, you guys are tied. You and Chris are tied. Did you stepping up on that tee? Did you expect a playoff? Like that's not. No offense to Chris, that's not a difficult hole for most of you guys. It's relatively open. You shoot a straight shot. Kelvin ace ran it 2 days in a row. Were you prepping yourself for a playoff, or?
At the time, I thought a playoff was very likely, and definitely a possibility of what could happen. But at the same time, I was, I thought he could birdie the hole and I could mess up the drive, or I could birdie the hole and he could mess up the drive, because it's kind of like an extra birdie, so it's a cool finishing hole. It's not easy.
Yeah, and then obviously we saw Chris flip it over into the woods, pretty extreme, I would say, and he didn't really leave himself with anything. When you, if I'm correct, yeah, he shot first and did that. At that point, you have to realize, I mean, you probably don't know exactly where he is. He could lay up, he could find a hole. We all know that. What is your mentality? Play it super safe? Do you change your game plan at all?
Yeah, maybe just slightly, just throw it a touch lower, be a little bit less aggressive, if anything. Other than that, it's really your main, just go for it, try to get your birdie, because he's a coin flip when he's in the woods like that. He could have a somewhat good line, or he could have a somewhat obstructed line, and that's what he definitely had, and it was tough to get out of there. He probably had a really small window up high to hit.
Yeah, you're expecting, I think we're all expecting, okay, well, sure, he didn't throw a great shot. He's off in the woods. He's probably going to get up and down from there and still walk away with the 3. So you're still thinking, yeah, I'm going to now need birdie to win this. A few moments ago, when we were talking to Hailey, she said she wasn't even thinking about, wouldn't even have thought about laying that up when she was in the playoff. She said if Paige had missed her putt and was, lying there with a bogey and she still had the birdie putt, she's like, yeah, I would have still.
It's only 20 feet is what she said. Like,
that's a great mentality to have. That's something about her too. I mean, she's fierce.
Yeah, and I think about what, you had the opportunity just to pitch up. Like, how relieving is that? Like, I think about all the pressure that you could have to make the putt, and now you just get to pitch it like 23 feet in front of you and dunk it.
Yeah, there is totally a sense of relief when that happens. But there's also this sense of like unsatisfaction almost.
Really?
When you're sitting there knowing that you have this chance to, Chris is gonna par, and you have this chance to like hit a insanely big 25-footer, like the biggest 25-footer ever. It's it's like kind of a what if kind of thing.
I suppose it's kind of like thinking, you want the hero moment.
Yeah.
Like you want to be, down by 1 in the 9th inning. You want to hit that single. You don't want to get walked in. It's the same win, but every athlete has that drive. So So you win. You've got $20,000 in your pocket. Did you? We saw Hailey went and got a nice hotel and a big 32-ounce steak. Did you do anything that night or the next day to kind of celebrate your victory?
I have been to Topgolf twice since the tournament.
Oh,
so you only have about 16,000 left, right? Topgolf is for the okay. Let's just back up a moment. For anyone that's not familiar with Topgolf, how about you explain it to the world?
Oh, it's just where you go for ball golf to hit golf balls into huge targets out in the field while like you have a video software kind of playing games for you as well, because the balls have trackers in them, and they also serve alcohol and food until like 11 or 12.
Yeah, and so there are various bays that are set up, and then you kind of rent that bay or that area for an allotted amount of time or whatever. And when it's all said and done, again, going to my joke, it's just not a cheap night out to go to Topgolf. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely fair statement.
Okay.
Luckily, in Arkansas, my buddy is a employee of Topgolf, and he has a nice little deal on it. One
okay.
got helped out on.
All right, I have two questions. The first one is probably a really tough one. Say you go into a playoff with Chris, and you have to play the same holes, 8, 11, or whatever. We've seen it before. Is there any talk of splitting the money? Because we see that a lot in like regular tour events. You guys go, and if it's someone's going to win $3,000, someone's going to win $2,000. We all kind of know that you guys talk about it like, we'll split the money and play for the trophy. This is a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Would that have come up, or does it get so big where that's then an awkward conversation?
We had that conversation, so I wouldn't say it was awkward. It definitely got brought up because, first of all, if 4 people were to split, it's $9,500 each, which is still like more money than anybody there pretty much has ever made. So it's tempting, but mostly the integrity of it, first of all, made us as a group really not want to do it. And we also didn't think it was realistic with taxes as well, being as somebody is going to win $20K,
Yeah.
So yeah, we just ultimately the integrity of it, we wanted it to be real.
Okay. That's great. I'm really happy to hear that, because I think it makes it a lot better for in hindsight, it makes it better for the viewers to know that you guys are really playing for this kind of cash. And I know it can be tough on the road for some guys, and I don't think necessarily probably not for the 4 that were in the finals, but there are we know there are some golfers that that I'm sure you've been there, that have struggled to get by on the road when you didn't have a big name. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and so do you feel like that would have changed at all if it did get to just the 2 of you, though? I know you said with the 4 of you, the math works out. Did you and Chris didn't even broach that subject when there was just 2?
I think that when Chris and I decided that we didn't want to split, it would probably have carried over into the playoff as well.
Sure.
Okay.
But I don't think we would have considered it, honestly.
No, I applaud that. I think that's awesome. And plus, Chris is like, psh, I won $10,000 last weekend, bro. Did you see? I got you.
Yeah, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it.
No.
Okay.
Right.
I have to ask my second question. What the hell were you thinking in the semifinals, laying up your final throw? I mean, you, as Nate Doss had said, you put your life in a 2-time world champion's hands.
Yeah,
like
that's
Ricky
that.
Wysocki, who is deadly from long distance. Clearly, he had a poor drive, but what's going through your mind in that? Like, did you just want to put the pressure, so to speak, on him, or did you not? I want to tell me.
Feel free to
just
throw
tell
your
me.
caddy under the bus
Tell
here.
me. Tell me.
I mean, Johnny V, man, it was you won't believe it. It was a total mistake.
Seriously.
I
you
totally missed the scores, dude. Coming down the wire, all this crap's happening so fast. I take a triple bogey on hole 17, and for some reason, me and my caddy look at the scores and cannot figure and mess up the decision. Totally messed it up.
Yeah.
Wow. Because when did you realize? When did you realize you screwed it up?
When I sat down and about to take scores on the last hole.
Because we had a camera on you, and that's part of the fun of this event, is someone gets in early and they're waiting to see what's going on. And at one point, you start walking away, and our cameraman starts following you. And you guys get probably maybe 50 or 60 feet. And at some point, we have to call the cameraman out. We're like, okay, he's walking away from us. We have a policy that says that. And I don't know if you were just walking to get energy off or you were literally walking away from the cameras. But we've kind of come to this thing where it's like, we will follow a player around and we will watch them react. But if they truly want to get away from us, we don't follow them. Like, that's just... It's a privacy kind of thing, I feel like. And so at some point I had to make the call. And I'm like, all right, stop. All right, Blaine, stop following him. Let's go get some other golf. What's going through your head when you're watching Ricky, man?
I couldn't watch Ricky. That's what that's what I was doing, was getting away from Ricky.
Well, I mean, clearly it worked out for you in more ways than one.
You don't want to roll those dice again.
No.
Right?
I would never ever consider rolling those dice. That's the funny thing, is I would never bet against Ricky birding that hole.
No.
Not ever. So obviously, yeah. Let's pretend that didn't happen.
So the good news is, let's fast forward. The good news is there was never a scoring question with your caddy again the rest of the weekend, right?
Correct.
Did you have a different caddy?
I don't know. I had heard that there was maybe there was some clarifications coming down the stretch also with Luke. I'll throw his name out there. With Luke on the next round. No, you guys always knew where the scores were in all scenarios?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I remember.
Yeah,
how apologetic was he?
We didn't touch that subject.
Like, I don't know if I'm your caddy, and I know you and Luke are tight, and you and I, we know each other, but that's about it. I don't know how I could ever look you in the eyes, be like, "Oh, sorry, bro. Yeesh."
Do you want my dog? My dog's really nice. Can I give you my dog as a piece?
You've already got a dog. Sorry. Okay. Well.
Yeah, I mean, it just tells you that you got to be really careful when you're coming down the stretch, and maybe just take that extra second and like solidify what you're trying to figure out on the scores, because you only get one chance.
All right. I know Daniel Reynoso from UDisc is out here, so we are going to put in a request to UDisc to clarify all scores somehow and let players know if they need to lay up. There should be a layup option. Like, your screen should flash. Like, don't lay up, bro.
That's what I was just going to say. I've got the solution. I've got the solution. We've heard this, whether it was Sarah Hokum at one point or an Eagle or whomever on hole 18. Yeah, it flashes. UDisc flashes and says, "Check the effing scores. Look at your scores again." It just
like your phone
UDisc
just
is yelling
shakes
at you
until you like have to hit a special button. That's
everybody's
great.
Like, "Are you sure you're aware of what the score is right now?" And it always does it on hole 18 at the end of every tournament.
I asked Hailey the same question. Somebody that put it out on the board. What is the most important part about this for you? The money, the title, or the ESPN exposure?
I would probably say the title is the most important to me. The ESPN exposure closely follows.
Okay. Prodigy's had this kind of on lockdown the last few years, with Chris Dickerson and now you, and man, there's something about that area of the country, you guys.
Wow, I think they're the best players in the world. I think that does it.
Oh, yes.
That's good. And this is, of course, I think a fair question to ask. Does it seem crazy that Paul, Ricky, and Eagle, none of the three made the finals? Should that seem crazy at all to anyone?
Yeah,
it should. Okay.
It should seem crazy. Everybody expected them to like really turn it on in this situation. And, you only get one round, and we're playing a really hard wooded course out there. And they probably looked at scores and saw people doing what they considered to be out of reach ahead of them. And so there's a lot of factors in that.
I know this is always such a funny one with this format, but do you feel like anyone getting a few more rounds in, as opposed to coming in way late, do you feel like anyone's got an advantage of playing more golf, we'll say, than someone else at this event?
Yeah, that's one of the easiest ways to take an advantage on the field, or at least uphold your advantage that's given to you. You need to practice the course as many times as possible. You need to know it, know how to birdie every hole and in all the winds.
Okay. Yeah, and I think just kind of like I asked you, you felt bad about your 3 under or just barely getting in, and then at one point you birdied 8 out of the first 10 holes, and you clearly made all the right adjustments. I mean, I think a lot of people would be happy with 8 birdies out there total, and you guys were, exchanging birdies back and forth like it was no big deal. It was pretty incredible. So taking a vacation or relaxing, find some way. Will you worry about body conditioning? Will you worry about weightlifting? What putting? Like, what are the types of things when you're ready to get back into full blown disc golf mode? What would be some of the things you're going to worry about?
This off season, I'd really like to be in extremely good shape, better shape than I've ever been in while competing in disc golf. Because I ultimately, I don't want to feel pain out there whenever I'm playing ever. I want my muscles to be really strong and engaged on all parts of my body so that my joints and bones don't take quite as much as a beating as they should.
Have you ever thought about slipping less on tees and not beating yourself up as much?
I think I have to, man. I'm a small guy. I've got to put all that energy into it.
Yeah, and he's small, so he's low to the ground. It's not a far fall. We see that happen to Calvin. It's game over.
It's like a giraffe just splits. And then now, talk about that for a moment. Tees, shoes, form. Like what's factoring most into those slips?
Into the slips?
Yeah, I mean, and how do you prevent them? Like, as a serious question, how do you prevent that?
And I heard you at MVP. I mean, clearly it was slippery, that it was wet. And then here, right after you slipped, if you listen real closely, you can say, I cut it out, unfortunately, and I should let it play out. You said something about the tee, and then it cut out right away, so I didn't hear what you were saying about the tee.
Yeah. Well, in that scenario, the tees are really gritty. So I was actually saying that the tee like cut me open because it's like super rocky, and so it pretty much sliced my knee open. I was bleeding from my knee. But I like those kinds of tees for the most part because they're really grippy. I'm not sure actually why I slipped on that tee shot. I am wearing some older shoes, so in the past 2 tournaments, I was traveling with a really light pack because I was planning on flying back from Charlotte. So I didn't have much of my stuff like I usually have my house with me. So I just had 1 pair of Adidas Terex, and they were getting a little bit slippery on the underside, but not too bad.
I feel like you're going with like the Ricky Wysocki, like you wear your shoe approach, wear the shoes until like there's holes in them. And
well, let's take a look. Let's see if we can find out.
Take a look.
We're gonna put it in slow motion here. This is a different angle than what we saw before. It looked like your just front left foot just slipped straight off the tee, like just went straight.
Yeah. Let's watch that again, Johnny.
Oh, we can.
We can relive this all night.
We can watch this. Oh no.
Yeah, my foot slips off the tee box.
Yep. And then. All right. Well,
what was going through your mind? Like the second you hit the ground, were you just concerned about where the shot was going?
Yeah, like the only thing that matters to me in the world at that particular moment is that disc goes down the middle of that fairway.
Yeah, I was going to just say a coincidence. Both of the times you do slip and you do fall, they're on incredibly tight gaps.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, the first one.
Yeah, good call. Foot fault. Sorry.
Yeah. Probably.
I don't know.
Okay. I just think about like, what? Yeah. I don't know. I guess we kind of talked that through, like as to what it was that made you do that, or if there'll be any. What do you think about that tee shot specifically? I mean, it was a great shot. I mean, let's back up. What do you think about that hole hitting that gap, that and the gauntlet holes, 2 of the tightest, most specific gaps with no other options? What do you think about those 2 holes and hitting those gaps in general?
Yeah, that's the part of disc golf that some people just don't really like that much, but it is a part of our sport, and it's just where the course is asking you to make it through the gap. That's your number one that's your number one goal. And if you don't hit that gap, then you're at the mercy of the trees and how hard you threw and all these other factors. But you have to get through the gap and get down the fairway. And so having a sidearm on both of those holes for me felt like an advantage, but it is because I'm throwing sidearms through gaps better than my backhands right now. But for another person who has a confidence in their backhand, like Calvin or Dickerson, for some points as well, they would throw that.
What's your favorite and your least favorite hole on that course?
Favorite hole is going to be hole 5. Is that the one where there's the Mando tree? And
it's along the road. The road is on the left side, all along, and that kind of places the slightly like platformed basket.
That's where we saw you hit the putt.
Yeah,
in hole 5
in the highlights.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got the rocks to kind of deal with that are played as casual, and there's road OB left, and then there's a string OB on the right. That's your favorite hole out there?
Exactly. I think it's cool because it's not that far, so your average person's able to birdie it, but your placement off the tee is crucial, and you have to kind of get over those rocks, which is hard. If you have to go over the rocks, then you're bringing that OB into play, which was perfectly placed this year by the Pro Tour.
Okay.
And then
the green
favorite.
itself.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say. And then the green, you like that there's the rollaway option. There's still OB left and right.
I don't like the rollaway option by any means, but I think it looks really nice right there. And I have I've watched the 2012 Worlds. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah, that brings back really great memories as well.
Okay. And so, yeah, least favorite hole on the course that you could do without.
Least I could do without hole 16 probably.
Yeah. Okay. What that gap, like that's a legit gap. Is it just about nose control? What is it about that hole?
Very few people got down there.
Yeah, exactly. Why?
On second thought, hole 1 as well, but hole 16. I mean, if you miss the gap, then Lord, who knows what's going to happen? You could land in like a. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much variance as to what could happen if you miss the gap. And also, like, there's that left fairway as well that can get you have to still get a little bit greasy if you hit the left fairway. There's still late trees that would guard you from actually hitting the basket. Hole 1 is pretty sketchy as well, though, too.
I agree with that. I'm not the biggest fan of all the holes out there. Hole 1, it's a very difficult starting hole in general, but it just doesn't. It feels like it needs to be just a little more open at the end. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not throwing it. Thankfully, that's you guys. That's your guys' problem.
I find it funny that you say that about 16 because I think 16's gap is almost twice the size as the previous hole, the gauntlet hole.
But that one's so much closer. Like
the thing about the gauntlet hole is if you do hit a tree, you've probably passed the Mando tree if you threw somewhat of a good shot, and then you're able to recover. 16 can punish you to where you're not able to recover like at all.
Yeah, you had a fantastic recovery on 16. Was it the second or third or fourth round? I forget, where you got caught off the left and you threw a roller down, and our cameras couldn't even see it because it was so obstructed where you were, and then it came down and suddenly, look, you're within like 15 feet or something.
Yeah, so I threw a really bad tee shot, kicked out to that where I had to go down the left fairway, and I threw an Anheuser Flex with a gray A2. So it was like probably really hard to see on the camera, but it was like overstable flex shot down into the gap and onto the green. Huge par save for me there.
Again, Sean Jack, I give him the credit, had mentioned early on in the weekend, and maybe you can agree or attest to this, hole 1 at this course is arguably the most difficult par 3 starting hole on the Pro Tour. And maybe even the most difficult, gap and most stressful shot to start your round on the Pro Tour. Can you think of one that would stress you out more?
No, not at all. I dreaded that tee shot for 24 hours up until the first round. Like, that is a scary tee shot. I wonder the percentage of people that play that hole and don't hit a tree.
Oh,
0.
Hit a tree.
A tree, like how?
I would bet there's probably 2 people all weekend that didn't hit a tree. That just found a clean line to settle on the ground and slide up somewhere, whether it was 50 feet
Right.
short, 100 feet short. That's a very difficult, difficult thing.
That's that was one thing that did cross my mind is like, we're here to play for this event. This championship starts, and then you have to hit that gap, right? To start your
So
round.
many people talk about, these very difficult finishing holes that we've seen lately. Hole 17 at USDGC, 18 at USDGC, 17 at this course. There's something to be said about having to walk up to the most difficult hole on your first shot. Like, some people, you're talking about thinking about 17 at USDGC on that long walk from 16. That long walk is nothing compared to, like you said, 24 hours of thinking about this hole or 18 or whatever it is. Like, you're sitting there just because everyone goes through their round in their head, what they want to do before, you're visualizing everything. And if you can't get past that first one visualization, you're out of luck, man.
Oh man, my first time through the course in this week's tournament was great because I was dreading that shot for 24 hours. I totally shanked it, and it went through all the trees to the easiest par save ever. So I'm like, here we go, baby.
It's an omen.
How much do you love playing and throwing hole 2? Obviously, in the highlight, we saw you park it. But how much do you love playing hole 2?
Oh my gosh, hole 2 is so much fun to play because it's such that perfect distance. It's 330 feet, so we have to throw it. We got to give the disc a little bit of power, and if we don't, we'll come up short. Or maybe if we give it too much power, some people flipped it up too much and went OB to the right. So it's just really cool how it's important. Just put it on, give yourself a putt, and then sometimes you can mature it and make it look really pretty.
Yeah, like you did on that final round.
Yeah, I think it's incredible just how successful people were on that hole. That played surprisingly, I feel like, on both the MPO and the FPO side. It played as one of the easier holes on the weekend, and it's just a beautiful shot, and everyone just apparently really dialed in on it because it looks good. So, of course, Prodigy, your sponsor, and have they talked about any kind of special release or commemorative disc or something fun and extra to work with you on this?
Yeah, definitely. They'll be coming out with something soon. They're just pumped as a company for everything that's going on with them right now because it's a great time for disc golf and Prodigy.
I want a Dickerson USDGC disc, a Kevin Jones Pro Tour Championship disc, and then a combined disc, one split right down the middle. That's like back-to-back weekends, back-to-back champions.
Wow, man, you're so demanding, Johnny.
This is all I want. That's all I want. I'm just saying, make it happen, Prodigy. Phil Arthur, Will Schustrick, whoever else makes those decisions, just do it. And then send me one, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll pick a mold, I assume, that when they do something like that, you'll pick a mold that you're quite partial to.
Yeah, maybe A3. Yeah,
I was gonna say A2, A3, or something. That's the disc I hear you talking the most about. It's one of those things I always chuckle and smile at that you're very, very good at. Is just that slight plug. It's perfect. And you're so good at it. It's so subtle, and I'm ruining it for everybody because now they're all going to hear it. But even during your award speech with Terry, you're like, "Yeah, man, my A3 was just flying so great," and I'm just like, "That's perfect, man." He just gets that in there. It's so subtle. I love it.
That's part of that Prodigy culture. I feel like a lot of Prodigy people, and I think all of our players,
all of them,
are getting smoother, and it makes sense. You
got to do that.
They write your checks.
That's great.
Your bonus checks.
They're awesome.
They take great care of me, and they've believed in me for a while. So doing stuff like that is totally necessary.
So I will follow that up and say, where are you contractually?
I am in Fayetteville, Arkansas right now. So contractually.
Contractually. Sorry, that was a big word for me. I know, because I'm not used to spitting those out. But where are you with contract and terms and all those things? Well, not terms, but I mean length and negotiating and stuff like that. I hope Luke's not negotiating for you. Please tell me.
Just lay this up. Don't worry. Just lay this contract out.
No, but seriously, are you? Yeah, where are you at with it?
That was good. I like the Luke joke. I signed in 2019 a 3-year contract, so for 2019, 2020, and 2021. So I'm I'm in for one more year, but they have absolutely mentioned renegotiating. So we'll
Okay.
definitely look at that option as well.
Awesome. Okay, so everything's certainly no major changes with your bag and your throwing and any of that for 2021. What's you talked about getting in better shape and all of that stuff. Anything specific about your game, the physical? If you're going to head out to a field, what is it, or maybe a green? What do you feel like you want to dial in even more?
I want to be a master of the fairway driver eventually, where I can just manipulate a fairway driver just like I can manipulate a putter or mid range. If I can do that, I'll open myself up a few more scoring opportunities in wooded courses such as Northwood, and WR Jackson, would be another one. Maple Hill.
Teammate or otherwise, who throws fairways the best?
What's a teammate?
Yeah, teammate or otherwise. So maybe on your team or not on your team. Who do you look at and you're like, damn, I wish I threw my fairways like that guy?
Yeah, Chris Dickerson, all day throws FX2s incredibly. He threw FX2 on hole 6 of this last weekend, which is just like a low ceiling 440-foot drive that I would never dream of throwing a fairway driver on. So he's the really good. And then Paul Macbeth is just the one to look at as far as angle control.
Mm-hmm.
He's throwing undertakers to where I can't believe what I've just seen. So hole 18 at Jonesboro is a good example where he'll just throw an undertaker and lace it and flip it the entire way. It's unreal.
Okay.
One of the things that we've heard, that I've heard specifically the commentators talk about when we're watching you play, which has been thankfully a lot this year, is your putt from about, we'll say 25 to the circle. Do you feel like that is an area you need to work on, or do you think that's just, did you go through, do you have that worked out? Because it's kind of, you like to jump putt from when you're outside of the circle, and everyone knows from like 33 to 45, you're deadly. Do you feel like that's a weak area for you, or are you okay with it?
I feel like I go in through spells with my putting, circle one putting. At the end, actually right before Green Mountain this year, I ended up writing some notes in my phone. I think we may have already talked about this, where I just wrote these really simplistic points that if I can't figure out my putt, it's probably one of these 4 things. Yeah. And that's helped me throughout the rest of the year. I've been putting fantastically from that distance that you're talking about. And I'll continue to keep doing that. I really feel like it's not much of a weakness anymore. I'm able to figure it out much faster than in the past.
Yeah, and I was going to say that it feels like in the last 6 to 8 weeks that hasn't been a problem for you like we saw it was earlier in the season. So you've clearly got something figured out. So that's fantastic.
Well, I'll borrow a question that I used earlier with Hailey, which is when we look back on 2020, when you reflect on this year and you complete the sentence something along the lines of 2020 disc golf and COVID and otherwise, but disc golf has taught me blank. What's one of your biggest takeaways or reflections on this 2020 season?
I feel like we were just so lucky to have a tour director like Jeff to have gotten us through what went on. First of all, in finishing the Waco event, making it actually finish rather than totally cancel was something else. And then getting us started back up in the time that he did. Wow. I think that is so crazy. I also think that the equal pay for the women is something that we're going to be able to look back on as a huge moment for the sport as a whole, because there's no better way possible to grow the sport than to make a $20,000 winner like Hayley King. So that's going to be something else. And then the 2 moments, ESPN and CBS this year. And my year's been crazy, and the slip ace. Come on.
You have had a crazy year. So November 22nd, I believe, or 24th?
28th?
No. It's 22nd or the 24th. I'm fairly sure. One of those two. Is the ESPN thing. what are you going to be doing for that? Are you going to hang out with your family? Are you going to like? Are you going to make ESPN this year before your dad, who's a coach on, like, I know they've had, issues with COVID and football and stuff like that. Are you going to be hanging with them? You're going to be hanging with some of your friends. That's right around Thanksgiving. Where do you feel like or hope you are for that?
I hope I'm in Arkansas, somewhere where the disc golf community can come and like have a watch party or something. That would be ideal for me.
All right.
Wow.
Well, don't spoil it for them. So just let them.
Just thinking ahead, that's crazy. Somebody said it's the 24th. And if it is for fact the 24th, that's a Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, it is the 24th then, because it is on a weekday.
SmashBoxx TV.
Yeah, SmashBoxx watch party.
Wow.
We could do a watch party possibly. That would be a lot of fun.
Okay.
But yeah, okay, it is definitely the Tuesday because Mo had talked about originally they were thinking about Monday, but they didn't want to go up against Monday Night Football, so which is on ESPN, but they were maybe thinking about, well, maybe we'll get some flip back and forth between ESPN and ESPN2, but then I think it was decided that Tuesday would be a better day for them overall. So it is definitely that Tuesday.
All right.
All right, cool. So hopefully you get to watch it with a bunch of your disc golfing buddies or local guys, and that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, sorry, my mind was just wandering into like, getting everybody together. What's it like, a BW3s type setting or whatever? And I think there definitely should be some big watch parties going on for that. That would be awesome. All right, Kevin. Anything else we got to hear from you? I know we just grilled you a couple weeks ago with all the hard-hitting questions after you won, but anything you got to share with the disc golf community?
No, guys, I'm doing great. I feel so lucky to be playing this sport for my job right now. And I feel it every day. So this is awesome. Looking forward to this off season, but also I'm really looking forward to Vegas. Can't wait to get the tour started again. I love it, especially in the new van.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to it. I think SmashBoxx will have probably some silly shenanigans for some off-season content here, game shows or additional things. So hopefully we can dial you up another time and over the next few months and get you involved with.
We'll have like a game night or something. We'll have Kevin over.
Yeah. Get you in here, and I know you compete in everything, and you'll be ready to rock and roll. All right, man. Well.
Y'all play Catan?
No, we don't. But clearly, we're the outcast because I know that's what happens on tour.
I wonder if we could play Catan and stream it, like online with people, like bring in Kevin and Paige and who all Perkins, and just have like a 4. How long does a game of Catan last? Is it like a 4-hour game?
Yeah, it'd be like 2 hours probably. Maybe could fit 2 in 4. Yeah.
So we get 2 of them in the SmashBoxx night. That's great.
So who's the best? I have to know this then. If we're gonna go down this road quick, who's the best Catan player? Because it's played every single night. It sounds like.
Yeah. No, there's been plenty of games played, and I'm definitely the new guy to the group. So from what I've seen, it seems like people like James Conrad and Calvin Heimberg can be very successful at this game because they be really quiet, and then they'll sneak attack you late, and they'll have a plan.
Huh. Okay. So the height advantage doesn't play out necessarily there.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
All right, Kevin, give us one final shout out and plug for all your sponsors and supporters and anyone you want to thank before we let you go.
Yeah. Prodigy Disc. Legit Disc Golf, Waco, Texas, and Team Cedar Creek. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, and thank you to everybody out there supporting me as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, he is racking up some late season wins here. Very impressive. Kevin Jones, your champion at the 2020 Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. Congratulations. We love seeing you compete and go out there and give it your all. And whether you win or lose, you're always so gracious out there, and we love seeing it, pal. So thanks, and congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Let's do it again.
All right.
How about the end of February after Vegas? How does that sound for you?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Good night, Kevin.
Have a good night. There you have it. Again, your champ.
Favorite Kevin Jones.
Come on. How can you not love that guy?
You can't not love that guy. And you know what? If you try to not love him, he'll just fall off the tee pad.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only people that don't love him are I don't people that got to apply Band-Aids. I don't know. Thinking as he's wiping out all over, but what an incredible performance by him and Chris Dickerson. You know, not to be overshadowed.
That ain't a bad 2 weeks for that guy. You know, he won 10,000 at USCGC. 10,000 here, so that's. I mean, he matched Kev.
Yeah, exactly.
Kev was like, "It took you 2 weeks. I got it in one."
But yes, Chris Dickerson, what a great battle and a gracious competitor and friend and teammate and everything else. Pretty incredible. And I'll stand by it again. Most pros, if you said to them, "How do you feel about getting 8 birdies out there on this course?" Most would be like, "Oh, hell yeah, I'll take that all day. That's great. That's a great round." And then you look at Chris Dickerson's scorecard and see him rattle off 8 birdies in a row.
Yeah, from 3 to 10.
It's and then I know we were just talking about how easy, I'll use air quotes there, how easy hole 2 is, but yeah, to rattle off birdies from 3 to 10, and then picked up one again on the gauntlet hole on 15, but. Incredible performance, a great battle, a great show that really put everyone on the edge of their seat for both rounds.
First of all, we were extremely happy that MPO, no offense to Chris, ended the way it did. I don't want to go into extra holes. Bonus coverage, everyone's excited for it. Not this guy. We've said it before. Say it again. Say it in the future. There ain't nothing that the production team wants less than extra holes. Our cameramen have to. It slows down the broadcast because there's always a 5 to 10 to 15 minute wait. The booth has to fill time. We have to wait. We have to figure out what's going on. We pretty much know what holes they are, but the cameramen have to take a quick break. Your production runs to a halt. So. I was rooting for someone to win on 18. I didn't care who it was at that point, but, shout out to Kevin. The FBO, same thing. I didn't want a playoff. It was cool that we got one. For the fans, phenomenal. Like, just exciting golf, right down clearly to the very last throw every time. And the fact that both of them ended essentially on the last hole is great.
A good place.
Yeah. Well, some of them feel like they end a couple holes early, depending on your event. Some of these things are wrapped up by hole 16 on some events, and when you're walking it in. Not the case here. It kept everybody engaged.
Yeah, and I do think that there's a couple other logistical things when you talk about playoffs. And specifically here, not only did that shorten, so to speak, the turnaround between the FPO and the MPO, where other things have to then cameras have to get charged and things like that to make sure you're ready to go for an entirely separate round. But if the MPO playoff runs longer, you start then the early darkness comes in, or regular darkness that comes in, and you're talking about cameras having challenges, you're talking about, grainier footage. Those are the problems that can also come about. I think I'll just throw out a number and say an MPO playoff goes 6 holes, you're in the dark potentially. Mm-hmm. So those things start to factor in. And so, yes, it is exciting. There's no denying it's exciting for the play and for the players and for the fans. We understand all of that. When we say we don't like playoffs, that's like Johnny was just referencing. Those are logistical reasons.
Strictly logistical.
Not as a fan, but just strictly as a company. And we also always say, more so early on and not as much anymore, you hate the idea of a playoff because if things have gone well for the production, if something goes wrong and then it goes wrong for sure in the most crucial time, which is a playoff, that's what feels the worst. That's the ultimate nightmare.
That's my nightmare. Like something we haven't. I'm gonna find some wood here. We haven't really had any issues during the rounds.
Correct.
Like we've been pretty. Every once in a while, we'll lose a particular camera. They need to reboot it, do whatever. But we've got other cameras to compensate. Unlike back in the day when we had only 1 or 2 cameras, you lose one camera suddenly, and they're rebooting, and it take. The old system, our old Teradex, took like 4 or 5 minutes to reboot. These new live view units are about a minute to a minute and a half. So you're doing a little bit better. Back in the day, it was like, oh, you're down? Just go to the next hole because we're not going to get you anyway. And then you were limping through. Thankfully, we haven't had that type of issue, but it's still scary every time, because if we somehow miss a playoff or an important shot in that time, we're going to hear about it for weeks, if not months, if not forever.
Yeah.
And so that is what keeps me up at night.
That's why I watch post.
Actually,
I don't watch live.
Doesn't keep me up at all. But if something were to keep me up at night, that would be it.
Yeah, it's again purely logistics. I mean, I think all the time, man, yeah, how exciting is this? And I'm on the edge of my seat, and every moment is so tense.
Except for Mo.
And it's so much fun.
Mo doesn't like fun.
That's true.
Mo is we all know, we saw it a couple weeks ago. Mo's anti-fun. And at one point, I think I cheered for somebody who had a really good shot in here, was playing and switching, and someone had a great shot, and I was like, yeah, awesome. And Mo turned to me and goes, no cheering. Like no cheer. He said no cheering in some room, in the spectator room, which is apparently some phrase that they use at ESPN for like their big room with all the TVs, with all of the games on, because people go in there to do research. And so it was like instinctual. He was like, no cheering in the spectator room, or whatever it was called. And I was just like, ooh, geez. And he explained it to me later what it meant, but I'm kind of like, take the fun out of this, Mo.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he says no cheering, but then
if Hogan shows up,
yeah, but then all of a sudden Luke's dog shows up, and then he loses his mind, on the phone. Go, oh my God, there's a dog. I think he actually starts.
Well, there's two things Mo gets really
drooling like a dog.
There's two things Mo gets really excited to seeing: any dog.
Yeah.
And Brian Geis.
Yes, he does love him some Brian, as we all do.
We all love Brian Geis, but every time he's on camera, he's like, "Oh, there's Brian."
And then that man crush runs deep.
Well, I mean, I can understand it, but that's great
for sure. And speaking of, I'm going to say superhumans. I mentioned it earlier in one of my nightly shows. I did have the pleasure of meeting Emily and Cody Garner this weekend. They were out there. They're super supporters of our show and what we're doing, and obviously they're into golf and then some. It was a pleasure, and I know that Cody had shot a bunch of photos for the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
And Duncan you met.
And I definitely met Duncan, and Duncan and I had a rousing game of tennis ball back and forth, and it was a lot of fun. So seriously, I do want to give a quick shout out. Anytime we can run into people that interact with us on the board, and then I have the pleasure of then meeting on site, it's always a pleasure. But it was a lot of fun because I got to see them every single day, and then on top of it, they were out there working as well. So I think it's pretty incredible, and I appreciate it. So it was fun. Good to see you guys and meet you guys in person.
Real quick, I just want to finish up the Tour Championship. As we talked about, Kevin wins. Chris Dickerson loses by 1 to Kevin Jones. Austin Hannum takes third. Calvin Heimberg in fourth place, shooting only, in quotes, a 2 down, when the day before he had shot like a 10 down.
Yeah, how is that heartbreaking?
No, it's Hornet's Nest.
It's golf? It's Hornet's Nest?
It's Hornet's Nest, because I don't think you see something like that at a more open course. Calvin comes out and shoots a 10. The odds are he's not going to come out and shoot like a 2 the next day.
Okay.
But with Hornet's Nest and the situation that we had, you can be off by an inch or two at Hornet's Nest, and you're taking bogeys left and right. And then you start trying to catch up. I mean, after 3 holes, Calvin was 4 back of Kevin Jones. So at that point, you have to think, well, I got to make up 4 strokes against a guy who's, clearly is on his A game today. I need to start pressing. And Calvin just couldn't get birdies. He got, a couple scattered ones where Kevin and Chris were just putting up, as they call it, putting up the blue wall. And if someone's doing that at Hornet's Nest, you're not catching them, because the front 9 is where you have to score on that course, because very few people score well on the back 9. At most, you're treading water, so you got to get those. You got to get those birdies early.
I think
so. I don't think it's a disappointment. I think it's a disappointment for Calvin, but I don't think it's necessarily out of the ordinary or strange on that particular course.
Well, when it was all said and done, and all of this is positive, no matter how you cut it. But I know I had talked to Austin on Saturday night, the eve of the final day, and I said, at this time tomorrow, as in after the event would have been over, there was a potential that if him and Kat won, their one vehicle would be driving off with 40 grand.
I had said at one point, I'm like, that would be pretty cool, like conceptually, like just like thanks guys, Kat wins, Hannum wins.
40 G's later, they're out.
Later,
it's if there's one truck I'm gonna raid, it's theirs. But yeah, and still, as I said, Kat still gets her highest payday ever of $5,000 for the third place finish, and Austin also gets his highest payday ever with his third place finish and $5,000. So clearly, I'll be like the Flonase commercial where 6 is better than 1. Clearly, their 10 grand combined isn't as great as 40, but they can also say we've never walked away from a weekend 10 grand up either. So pretty awesome to see that. And congratulations. Again, Austin's largest payout. That was not Kelvin's highest payout. He's taken, I think, 6 or 6,600, 6 grand he took somewhere at a big event. And then obviously Kevin's takes his career earning to a new height. So pretty darn amazing out there for sure.
I want to talk real quick about, and actually I'm going to kind of throw it over to you because I think you have maybe a little bit better idea. UDisc has a new initiative out.
They do.
Basically attempting to count the players, count the number of disc golfers.
I don't know why. Here's my problem with it. They're already trying to do a national census, so why don't you just include on the national census, do you play disc golf?
That's a great question, Terry.
Think about it.
I mean,
so much easier. Just get that added to the national, which I don't think enough people fill out anyway. So, no, the cliff notes from what I understand of the UDisc initiative, which you definitely can go out to udisc.com/count, I think is the official. Yes, it is. I was right.
Man,
called Count the Sport. And really what it's asking you to do in the simplest of forms is go to your local course and for a 1 hour time block, count the amount of people that are going out to play. And then you simply log in to your account. You list where you were and what the time block was. You just fill in the fields, list the time block, list the amount of people, list the course, and you hit submit. That's essentially it. And then some really smart people in some colleges somewhere are going to take all these numbers and make other charts and graphs. I don't know. That's what UDisc does. They take numbers and make pretty charts and graphs. So, but no, I know they are collaborating. I hope I've done it justice.
I'm sure we haven't. And you know what? In the next couple
Hey,
weeks,
when they start writing me a check, then I'll start.
in the next couple weeks, we'll probably have like a Matt or Josh or Steve Hill on. Maybe they can give us a better idea of exactly
I nailed it. What
they're going to do with these numbers, other than sell them to giant companies for advertising rates or something. I don't know. Isn't that what these monster conglomerates do? Like just take your data and sell it?
Yeah, they're totally just harvesting.
Yeah, that's what UDisc does with this data.
Harvesting bogey strokes. That's what they're doing. And then they're going to try and sell them to bogey-free bags or birdie bags or somebody. I don't know. It all ties together.
I mean, clearly.
Josh is on the board. UDisc Josh is on the board and says we'd be happy to be on next week.
That's great. Only if you come with some exclusive information about UDisc. We want something new. We want something brand new, Josh. Tell us something you're building, something that's cool that we can exclusively have, and we'll let you on.
Yeah, when you show up, we need exclusive news.
And you cannot cut the power this time.
Yes,
so
exactly.
So please do not cut our power.
Episode 300. Jerks.
If you can do that. Yeah, it's been 20 episodes since we've had him on. So
yeah, well, we've been doing just fine. No, and someone says, Tim says you don't play. You could practice putt, though, and just watch hole one. Yeah, and that's exactly what is a great idea. Or maybe you're on your lunch hour, and you're near a course, and you're going to eat your lunch in your car or outside your car, and it's just in close enough proximity to see who's going out to play, and that's the way you do it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways Maybe you want to go beautify the parking lot. And you're going to pick up the trash around there, and in doing so, you can also take count of how many people are going out to play. There's a lot of good excuses for what you could go out to the course and do, and linger and loiter in the parking lot. I've got a few tickets. Never mind. Okay, again, udisc.com.
You do have a ticket from staying at a course too late one night.
udisc.com/count. That's what you need to worry about.
You don't want to talk about that at all. I know.
There's nothing to talk about.
No, Terry's lying with that, but we'll move on.
All right. So one thing that I was very lucky that on Monday morning, which feels like forever ago, was just yesterday, but on Monday morning after the championship, I went back out to the course. I had to do a few things and meet up with Jeff Spring. Our cameramen were out there. A couple of them were. Evan and Sam were out there. They were doing some things as referenced. Jomez was shooting a few pieces and getting some other additional content. And Paige was out there. Paige Pierce was out there. And I just feel like one of the funniest takeaways of our kind of season-ending conversation is this. I said, well, what are you doing now? And she's like, I don't know. She just said, I'm going to get my van. I don't know where I'm going. She then clarified a little and said, well, I'm going to go to Germs, who lives in the Charlotte area. I'm going to go over to Germs and then think about something. But yeah, I don't know what state, what city, what highway. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing. And there's a beauty in that freedom and in that, the freedom is what I would say. I mean, she's got no place to be, nothing to do. There was a conversation about maybe traveling south of the U.S. border into Mexico. That seems like that was on the table as an idea.
Just by herself.
She I don't think she has an agenda. It could be by herself, maybe not. Just free as a bird.
That's a nice life.
I mean,
you've earned it. You've put in your time and your effort, and you're the best player in our sport. I think you've earned yourself a thing. I want to talk about a conundrum. Let's talk briefly about the Pro Tour finale and the payouts.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I almost circled around on this with Kevin as he was really talking about the women's payout. Go on.
I thought about it, but I didn't think it was necessarily, I don't know if appropriate's the right word, but do you feel like the Pro Tour has now painted themselves into a corner with the payouts? Like, are we expecting $20,000 for the winner every single year or more? Or does it have to go up? We've seen in the past the USCGC at one year they had $15,000 and then they scaled back to 12, 10, 8, 10, 12, whatever they happen to be. This past year it was 10. Is it going to be okay next year? And who knows what's going to happen if they do scale back to 15? If they go back to 10?
Yeah, what if it cuts in half?
I don't think we're ever going to see an instance where anymore, cross our fingers, where MPO and FPO are different. I'm going to put that on the table and say I think the Pro Tour is smart enough to know that they've set a standard for that. If you have 10,000 for the MPO, you're going to have 10,000 for the FPO.
Yeah.
But is 10,000 a great number enough to just, does it look bad if they scale down? Or as golfers, are we going to be accepting of that and just say, no, we understand why it was 20,000. It was a great year. COVID, all the manufacturers were really like at their limit. They were flush with cash, and they were able to help give that extra bump to the finale. And we understand that things may be scaled back in years to come. Or are golfers going to look at it and go, oh my God, I can't believe, look, we're clearly doing worse now because, last year it was 20 and this year it's 15 or 10. What's going to happen, Terry? Tell me. Predict the future.
Yeah, I know. I definitely know all of the future. And the future tells me, who knows? It is an interesting, conundrum's a good word, or it's simply an unknown. We know already, or we're just going to wildly guess with confidence, we know already that the Pro Tour is going to want to match that.
Oh yeah,
and not have to scale back in any way. I'm sure they want to do that. Now, is that going to be as feasible for reasons like you said for next year? That's clearly the unknown part. Is we know that the desire is going to want to be there. Are the means going to be there to do it? And that's or is it just forced upon no matter what? And say, hey, if we have to pull from somewhere else to make sure that we can still hit that mark. I don't know. I mean, and you and I think talked about it and said, is there more emphasis on the significant payout for this year because we know for sure it's tied to the ESPN2 broadcast? And let's just fast forward and say there's not a national broadcast attached to the finale next year. Again, just speculating. Let's just say there's not one. Well, does it look more like our traditional disc golf payouts at that point, where 10 grand still is a very impressive number, but it's definitely not where this year's was? That's a really tough question. I'm glad I don't have to answer the question or write the checks.
I told you
personally, but
predict the future. This is what I want to know.
Oh yeah, I think we're going to see it be the same or better.
Okay.
I don't think it'll
Terry
scale
called
back. So take that to the bank, all of you pros. I just guaranteed that somebody else is going to write you checks next year that I have no influence on.
Okay.
Do you think we're going to see it as grandiose or better next year?
I think it's going to be the same next year. I have no idea, but I think it's going to be the same. I have no inside knowledge. But I do want to address something on our board real quick. I see one or two people out there saying that the MPO should have gotten more than the FPO. And I'm going to flat out disagree with that. And I've seen that in other places. And the argument they have is that there's more MPO players, and that an argument I disagree with is saying the competition is stiffer. Just because the competition at the top is the competition at the top. I don't care how deep your field is. That's a whole nother discussion. This is the same argument I had last year with the national tour, when I was so disappointed that the MPO got more than the FPO bonus. Because what we're talking about added bonus cash. We're talking about cash from Grip 6, who came in and was a huge presenting sponsor. We're talking about cash from other sponsors, all the people that put in money all year long. This isn't just entry fee money. Like,
Correct.
I would almost agree with you, almost, if we said all this money came from entry fees. Some of this money came from sponsors. Some of this money came from the Pro Tour. Some of this money probably came from DGN. The fact that we hit huge amount of way bigger than we expected on DGN. This is all, I'm using the term bonus money. This is added cash. There's nothing that says added cash has to be added equally based on participation. So, making it equal in both divisions is the right move. I think it's the right morally. I think it's the right fiscally. I think it's the right move to help promote the sport in the future, to help grow the FPO sport. And again, I will say, if this were just coming from entry fees throughout the season, I could understand your argument.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that this is a lot of this is added cash, I would have a hard time saying, why aren't you making it equal for both? Because it's that extra. It is sponsor money. And there was nothing stipulating from any sponsor where this money had to go. And I don't think the Pro Tour would have accepted it if they said, no, all this has to go to MPO.
No, or conversely, the sponsor money may have come in and said, we're going to sponsor X amount.
And it has to go to FPO.
And that means we want to see it go to see the two payouts. That could have been a stipulation as well. We're not privy to that.
And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus on our chat. Obviously, everybody has opinions. I just disagree with that particular one on the board, and everybody has a right to theirs. But I think that if you look at it as in, this is added cash, this is bonus. These are women that have gone through the same trials and tribulations and touring expenses that every man has gone through all season long. This is a culmination of a tour. This has so little to do with entry fees. This is so much more when you look at the entire year. And that's the perspective I take on it.
Sure.
And I hope that's a perspective that you can take a step back and look at and go, okay, I understand why. And I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm going to feel that you're wrong, but I think that maybe if you take a different perspective, a different look at it, you will maybe see it in a different light.
Well, I guess one way that I think about it as well, and I follow everything you're saying, what I would additionally add and say is, what does it harm?
Correct. It doesn't harm anything.
Like who does it hurt? Does it hurt the men that they're not getting even more
50,
bonus money?
If it was, instead of 20-20, if it was 30-10, like.
Well, and I guess you were just saying, at that point, who's to say that that's what it should be? When we're kind of playing with, I'll use the term playing with bonus money or sponsorship money, I would then just take a slightly back up on it just a little bit and say, what does it hurt to pay out these numbers? That would be the question I would pose. And I would love for somebody to then say, well, here's what it hurts. They get 20,000 and that's bad because I just don't know what could complete that sentence. So, and we understand this is a passionate subject. There is obviously logic in someone saying, whether it's this event or other events, when the general statement is, well, the top man had to beat so many more competitors than the top woman, therefore they think that they deserve more money. I can understand where that mentality comes from. I get it. I fully understand it. And that's what we typically have at most tournaments. I think this is part of the initiative, though, of wanting to grow bigger and beyond and just going with that logic and that standard. And I would continue to fall back to the idea of what does it hurt? And I can't think of anything it hurts.
People are saying
doing it.
It may hurt some of the MPO players further down the field. That money would have gone to pay deeper, higher for the men in your, we'll just say 10 through 20 or 10 through 25 spots. We'll just throw numbers out there, that money could have gone to them as opposed to the women. And again, I almost agree with your analysis on a normal tour event. I can't get behind it for the tour finale. And again, I felt the same way about, I think I even said it last year, with the NT bonuses. Like, these are bonuses. Why are you bonusing the women less than you're bonusing the men when it's a bonus? Why not just split that?
Sure.
Like, when you're only paying out X amount. And everybody at this event got paid. Every single person that qualified got paid. Like, whether it was... And the women didn't get paid as well as the men in this event when you look further down the field. Like, they got paid a slightly shallower on the deep end as opposed to the upper end. So it's a big, long discussion that it can be very nuanced. It can be very just divisive. And I'm happy that I was part of a crew that in the DGPT and the DGN that was part of what happened at the Disc Golf Pro Tour finale. And I hope we continue to see it happen that way.
Yeah, and Emily asked a great question about, will we see this during the regular events? And I'm guessing not right now. Could I just postulate or guess that somewhere down the road in the future, that's either a distant or not so distant goal of the Pro Tour? I would think that it probably is at some point, and I don't know what year that's going to be, but to see equal payouts regardless of division size, that might be a goal. I would like to think that it is, but I don't think we're going to see that week in and week out at regular events. But as Johnny had mentioned, when you're at an event that is a bonus finale culmination event, if you've got that added money, there's just so little downside or virtually no downside to having it go out equally. And I think it's very cool. It's a step. You might not consider it the right direction. I consider it a step in the positive direction, as does Johnny. And you can argue otherwise if you'd like. And I guess it's interesting to think, like,
and if you do argue about it, that's cool. The Smashbox motto, though, don't be a dick about it.
Yes.
Pretty simple.
I think, like, could you just imagine the overall argument of, hey, I get the phone call. Jeff gets the phone call. Hey, I just saw you're paying, 50 grand to the top 5 spots in men, 50 grand to the top 5 spots in women. I hate that. I want to donate another 10 grand, but it's all got to go to MPO's first place. Like, it would just be a funny, like, conversation to have unfold if somebody was that worked up about it being equal and thinks that it shouldn't be. I don't know. That's all I could say about it.
Yeah. And obviously on our board,
Feel free to disagree.
everybody's been very, very respectful about it, and there's been nothing crazy about it, which is one of the reasons why I love our board.
Yeah, you guys are all nice.
And yeah, as Luke says, it makes it a lot more exciting. Like whether you like it or not, it's more exciting to watch the women play for $20,000 than it would be to watch them play for $5,000.
Yeah, just think
or
about the
10,000.
optics, and I guess it's just as I was just going to let this die. Think about the optics, though, of our sport
Sorry.
on ESPN2 when they say, oh, yeah, this final hole, this putt, this shot, these guys, these 4 playing, after all year, have got to this point, and they're playing first place is 20 grand. And then they say, okay, well, there weren't as many women that played all year, but here's our top 4 women, and now the first place for them is 5 grand. I mean, just think about the example that we're kind of setting and putting out there to the world at the same time of how great this looks, that we are paying the same, and that round was for Kat and Paige and Lisa and Hailey. They were still playing for 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. All right.
Awesome sauce. Let's move on. I don't actually have anything to move on to, so let's talk about this some more.
Well, the fact that you used the word awesome sauce, that's a screeching halt right there. So as you did mention, though, we'll continue to keep you guys updated, but it does sound like that November 24th, if that really is a Tuesday night, and depending on the exact time, we'll have to factor in how Smashbox handles that or what we will or won't do in some form of a virtual or live watch party, or who knows? Who knows where our worldwide pandemic is at and what that's how that factors into
I
an
don't see
actual
much changing in a
gathering.
month.
I'm just saying. We're gonna have we may or may not have a decision on a new or incumbent president. There's so many things. You're right. That's a month away. Who knows what's gonna look like by then. All right. What else do we need to talk about then, Johnny?
I don't know of anything else we need to talk about. We've discussed everything there is to discuss in the world, and I think we can probably wrap up our show and give something away in the after show and talk
like
about something or other. I don't know.
People like that.
People do like it when we give
giveaways.
stuff.
Free stuff. It is good. Yes, Tim. Hailey was on. She opened the show with us just before Kevin. All right. Get your keyboards ready for all those super nice things and or your questions, because that's what we'll get to in the after show. As always, we appreciate you guys being here and joining along. And like we say in the after show, we'll try and read and interact with you a little more directly right from the actual message board. So we're going to close things out. It's been a heck of a year. I don't think all the secrets are out. I don't think all the details are done. I don't think every event is done. But as those things continue to grow and develop, we'll keep you in the loop with those. This has been an incredible year, but I think there's even a little more left in the tank, and we'll continue to share that with you guys as we get there. But for now, we're going to close it out.
And we'll hear it first.
You'll hear it here
right here
first. Yeah, probably. After I
we'll accidentally spill the beans here, and when we're not supposed
to. We'll tell something we're not supposed to. That's happened.
We're good for that.
Just once. Congratulations, Hayley King, the young, incredible champion that's proved herself so quickly here in her very, very short professional disc golf career. And as Paige put it, her moment was going to come. And Paige, nor I think the rest of the division, are surprised at what Hailey has accomplished and then what she has in store, because it's truly going to be incredible And Kevin Jones, as we say, through and through, always right there, always a contender, has really capped off and finished a few of these last few tournaments with the just the tenacity that I know he has, that he knows he has, and it's just a matter of it all coming together and completing through that final hole. And it's been incredible watching him perform at his level as well against so many viable competitors. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been our regular show. This has been podcast 320. We thank you guys for joining us. We're going to talk some silly nonsense and some other good stuff in the after show, which is coming up in just a few moments. This is podcast 320. We'll see you soon in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 320's after show.
I threw Terry for a loop. I counted backwards in French.
Yeah.
he just started chuckling.
You're so silly.
So silly, because normally before we've got that video up and I count Terry in, I'm like, all right, Terry, we're going to go back live in 3, 2, 1, and I just went, 3, 2,
Yeah, so
he was just kind of
you're
like,
so
really?
cultured. It's like
the three words I know in French anymore from my 3 years I took in high school or middle school, I think. I think eighth
grade,
8th, 9th, and 10th grade. I think I took French.
Eighth grade.
And I can ask to go to the bathroom. Yeah, that's about it.
Exactly. And funny enough, that's when I took it. I think I had to take it for a semester was the minimum. I also took French, and interestingly enough, my daughter, who turns 12 in a couple hours, she's taking French right now.
Yeah,
and so she's in 6th grade.
Okay,
somebody want to confirm that? Yeah, 6th grade sounds right. 7th? She's in 6th, I think.
No, she's in 6th grade. She's in the same year as my son.
Okay. You have a son. Okay, so yeah,
as far as I know, I think he's mine. I mean, he's tall, blonde. He looks a lot like me. I mean,
okay,
I would assume he's mine.
Yeah, she's taken in 6th grade, which is awesome. So
that's middle school for them, though. Our middle school was 7, 8, 9. Theirs is 6, 7, 8, like traditional.
All the schools are all changing up their. She also said to me today. Real quick, my 4th grade daughter.
Hi, Kenzie. You're still up.
Yeah, she's probably still up. They both started with going to school 2 days a week, Thursdays and Fridays. And then a few weeks into school, here in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, where I live, a few weeks into school, they said, all right, the 4th graders can start coming 4 days. So my younger daughter has been going Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. A couple days ago, the school district said, all right, now the 6th graders and their school can start going 4 days. So my daughter goes to school today for the first time on a Tuesday, my older one, and she comes home and she said, yeah, I forget their exact names, but I think she says, yeah, Kale was in class, but Cade wasn't. I said, okay. She's like, yeah, Cade has been exposed to COVID, and so he's at home quarantining. And she goes, I don't understand. Even if one of them's asymptomatic,
They're both around each other.
they're brothers, they're twins, and one's at home and one's not. She's like, I don't understand. I'm like, I'm not about to understand it. I didn't want to get too political or anything with her, but she's right. It didn't make a lot of sense that the brothers that share rooms, one was staying home and quarantining, and the other one was going to school. To her credit, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I absolutely agree with her on that one.
She's right.
It was pretty funny. All right. So yes, just to answer a question on the board, it is this next year will be the 6th year of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Very first year was 2016. So I counted 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. This was our 5th year. So next year will be the 6th for anyone playing along at home. All right. Speaking of playing along at home, which that was a terrible segue, is
Horrible.
I have
segue.
downloaded some Netflix action, and I think I mentioned a few weeks ago that now that I'm back on a plane every once in a while, I had been finally consuming The Last Dance, which of course I enjoy. I don't know if I don't think I heard one person say, "Oh, this
That's
sucks."
that's the dance movie with Julia Stiles.
Yes. Oh, Julie, yes. She's a good dancer. It's her and Bradley Pitt. I'm just kidding. None of those. Anyway.
I don't know.
I know.
No, that's the Michael Jordan documentary you're talking about.
I've enjoyed it, and I would assume that whether you're a Jordan or Bulls fan or not, just the documentary and the storyline, maybe you hated Michael, I don't know, and you don't care for it, but I feel like it was really well put together. I've been enjoying it. The other thing at random I downloaded the other day was Space Force on Netflix.
I heard that was mediocre. That's what I've heard. That's the general, like, not bad, but not really good.
I am through, I think, 4 or 5 episodes. I'd love to hear what the board says about this. I'm through 4 or 5 episodes. I thought, I mean, obviously the first episode got things all set up. I think it was the second episode specifically where I found myself literally laughing out loud on the plane while consuming it. I thought it was really good. There's a lot of big names in it.
Yes.
A lot of big names. And which doesn't necessarily by and large, automatically guarantee any form of success. However, I personally, I'd give it the watch. I'd tell you, if someone's like, man, should I skip it or should I give it a try? At least give it a try. I think it's pretty good. So that's my unofficial Netflix and chill. We're talking Netflix and chill in here.
I'm going to go with the CBS All Access talk. Even though you couldn't get the CBS event on the All Access, this is I've been binging the Star Treks.
Oh,
yeah. Just went through all of Discovery Season 2, and I caught up with Discovery Season 3, which only has 1 episode. Somebody actually just asked me on the board what my thoughts on Season 3 so far. I only got through the first episode because I think that's all that's out there. And it doesn't feel like Star Trek because that's I think the whole point. And I'm not going to spoil Season 3, but I'm curious to see where they go with it and how they proceed. But I did today take my son to a Boy Scout event, so I sat and started watching Star Trek Lower Decks, which is the animated Star Trek. It's animated for adults.
You lost me at Star Trek.
I know.
And animated.
Is there any animated series that you find funny that you like? Anything? Like, because Rick and Morty is it's very adult oriented humor. I mean, there's always been things like Venture Brothers, which I never really got into. A lot of the Adult Swim stuff, Simpsons.
I mean, I can appreciate, and of course I find humor in The Simpsons. I find like occasionally my kids who are again too young for it will watch Bob's Burgers. They've watched way more episodes than I ever have, and I don't know. Ever since,
we watched the first season of South Park, maybe the first two.
Exactly,
when
and
we
I was
were in
just going to go
college.
there. Ever since college, and this will date us, and some of you can relate. South Park came out our freshman or sophomore year.
I think it was our freshman year.
Our freshman year, maybe. Either freshman or sophomore year of college. And they literally had 6 episodes when they first came out.
Yeah.
So it was after the first one, it was just hysteria to go see the
Mr. Hanky and the Christmas poo
just
and all that
absolute
stuff.
hysteria and you had South Park watch parties where 50 kids were trying to pile into a dorm room or wherever because it was the greatest thing to ever hit television. And they had like 6 episodes, I feel like, early on. Somebody I'm sure can correct me. And they got, that's all they had. And they got played and played and overplayed. And then every reference in all of pop culture was back to them. And I just instantly got burned out on it before I could even get excited about them because it was such a phenomenon, I guess. It was like, it's not like I was popular, but it kind of felt like that. And anyway, I couldn't get into them, and I still can't because it just felt like, hey, we can now say and do anything we want because it's all cloaked in a cartoon, so anything goes. And then it just kind of got old to me for that reason. And I feel like some of our animation stuff still does that. It's like all bets are off, all humanity is off, all decency is off, simply because they're cartoon characters doing it as opposed to humans. And I'd like to think I enjoy my comedy, but I don't know. None of that excites me as much.
Correct. And my understanding is I haven't watched South Park in 10 or 12 years, maybe. I think I've caught bits and pieces or internet things here and there. But I guess they're still relatively good. They're still they're still pretty relevant and timely, and that's great. It just it hasn't really been my jam. Star Trek Lower Decks is much more along the lines of Rick and Morty, where it's more irreverent Star Trek. You've got these characters who are not the heroes. They are, like, as they say, the lower decks. They're the ensigns and the scrubs, and they're being much more funny, and it's a more relaxing Star Trek. And I think so far I've seen 2.5 episodes, which I watched today while my son was at Boy Scouts, and it's good. It's funny. I laughed out loud a couple times at it because they do throw some of the Star Trek stuff under the bus, and it makes it funny. So I'm curious to see where it goes. But I know, and it's not your
no,
thing.
I mean, and I saw someone mention on here Archer, and I will just say that
Archer is pretty funny. Yeah,
I think I've seen the first episode like 6 times, and then I'm always like, okay, I'll watch it, and I just somehow never progressed to the second episode.
The first 2 or 3 seasons are really good, and then it kind of goes downhill. I'm interested to see how the new season is.
I had heard about Archer through Steve Dodge, and you couldn't be around Steve for more than 5 seconds without an Archer reference because he just couldn't get enough of the show. And I really appreciate Steve Dodge and his humor, so I thought it would be a no-brainer. And somehow I didn't get totally invested in it, but I have heard it's really funny. I don't know why sometimes just the animation stuff doesn't do it for me as
it
good
never
as it
has.
might be.
I know you. It never really has.
I don't think it ever will.
No.
So everyone's now, of course, discussing what your favorites are out there. Anything else that you're watching on the Netflix and the Hulus and the
Not really.
Primes?
I've been really, like I said, I've been torturing my wife lately with Star Trek, and my wife enjoys science fiction. I've got her into, she loved Battlestar Galactica with me, and she's, I've converted her a little bit into a nerd. She cannot do Star Trek, though. She just, like, I was sitting there watching it and watching Discovery, which is Star Trek, I mean, through and through the second season, and they're referencing all these things that I know from Next Generation and the original series and all this stuff. And I turn to her, I go, look at, and she looks at me and she's just kind of like, no, I'll completely continue to ignore you. And to the point where she was frustrated when one episode would end, she'd think like, oh, maybe we'll watch something together. I'm like, nope. Look, there's another episode.
Go on to another.
And so, yes, she has zero interest in Star Trek. And that's honestly all I've been watching the last, I would say week, because I have the CBS All Access for free for 7 days. So all my free time has been watching that, like trying to kind of get caught up. And no, I don't know. November 11th or 14th or something, there's a Netflix comedy special coming out called by a comedy troupe called Auntie Donna, which I went to go see a couple years ago when they came through here to Milwaukee. I believe they had like the Pabst rented out.
Okay.
And they didn't sell like any tickets. So they went to some like really small theater like that I'd never been to before on kind of right near the new stadium district. Like I remember looking and going like, oh, so they're not at the Riverside or the Pabst. Like, where is this place? And walking up to it, I was like,
it's like a closet.
It felt like it. Like it wasn't quite. It sat probably 125 to 150 people, and it was full, thankfully, of the 150 people, but not nearly like the 3,000 that the Pabst can hold. But it was such a good show, and I'm excited to see what they do. It's got Ed Helms in it. It's got Weird Al Yankovic in it. I found out about them many years ago. From a different comedy podcast. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that. But other than that.
Okay. So
not much.
Speaking of catching up and watching, what was your favorite part of my nightly recaps this week? Besides every minute?
I only watched one of them.
How many times did you watch it?
And just the once, Terry. Just the once. I would see it pop up on my alerts like, oh, Terry Miller's going live. I'd chime in. I'd say, hi. Hey, guys. John's here. Watch for about another minute.
2 hours.
Minute and a half.
Two and a half hours.
And then be like, no one's going to care that I'm gone. Click. And I'd leave. Because usually it was relatively late. I'd be ready to go to bed. And that's what it is.
No, and I only bring it up because I do genuinely, actually, I want to thank everybody. I always hem and haw as to whether or not I should bother doing it, and maybe they're just my most tried and true constituents that want to somehow follow along with whatever I have for a recap. But I do genuinely want to thank you guys. And if you don't know, for both the Women's National Championship / USDGC, and then this last week when we were in Charlotte, each and every night, actually, after play, at some point, hours later, I would go live on my Disc Golf Guy channel. And a lot of times it's not a real strong formula or a secret formula. I'd pull up UDisc, see if anything jumps off the page at me, maybe relate some of the stats or scores or numbers that we see, hopefully have some kind of story that accompanies some of it. And then near the end, it would always, kind of like our after show, largely leads to a lot of just questions that might be relative to the actual play and the tournament, or might be completely random, like, what's your favorite Frisbee? And I genuinely enjoy it as low budget and as basic as it all is. I do enjoy doing it, and I just wanted to say I really appreciate everyone that either encourages me to do it or somehow tunes in and plays along and participates on any given night. And that might be something that I could see doing with a little more frequency, either for other events this year or next year or whenever. We'll see how that works out. And speaking of other events, how many of our peeps out there are going to be in Vegas this weekend, huh?
The big Vegas Halloween.
Las Vegas Halloween Classic. I should know the full name. Presented by Legacy. I don't know if anyone will be out there that's following along right now, but I do want to take a quick look. It's so funny how Las Vegas Challenge always comes up, and that's not what I'm looking for. I want to look at who we're going to see. Here's the interesting part that I think will even. It's not at Wild Horse. It is over at Sunset, and as funny as this sounds for me to say, I've never covered golf at the Sunset course. For many, many years, I've been, I've been a staple at going to the Memorial for, I don't know, maybe 13 out of the last 14 years or something like that. But I have only been to the Las Vegas Challenge or the Gentlemen's Club Challenge, mainly when it's been at Wild Horse in these last few years. So I'm kind of excited, and I've heard all sorts of stories about being out at the course at Sunset, but I'm kind of excited to go check out the action. I was just going to sort by player rating, and I do want to follow up on a few of these. James Proctor, your highest rated player, coming up this weekend. Steve Rico, obviously as one of the sponsors of the event. Nick Newton, Chris Pinniger, Chris Shotwell, Chris Kesselhoff, who we haven't seen a ton of since winning the Next Gen Tour. I know he's been mostly West Coast, and then also still registered, I don't know if he's playing, is Brody Smith and Kerry Trotter.
I believe he is playing. He was talking about going out there. So
and on the FPO side, if I sort by rating, we see Jennifer Allen, Nicole Bradley, and Anya Singer, along with Hannah. So not Hannah Macbeth, Hannah Stavanovich. So who am I going to see in Vegas? That's what I want to know.
Wayne Newton?
You've never...
I've never been to Vegas.
You've never been to Vegas?
Nope.
And you have no interest to?
No, I do have interest in going to Vegas. Like, I want to go for multiple reasons. I want to go for the experience. I want to go for the gambling. I want to go for I want to go see a show or something there. I would love to play a golf event there. Yeah, no, Vegas does interest me. I've just never, you and I we're never the type, and we've kind of been hip to hip for 20 years. We weren't ever the type to say, hey, let's go to Vegas to gamble or to party. Like, that was never. We were more interested in, if we're going to travel, it was going to be for disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
And so we didn't.
That's all changed for me, my friend.
Yeah. And so we never really made it out there.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it went. Now, I would love to go out there. I've got points. I could go out there. This year doesn't seem like a great year for me to do it with COVID. It doesn't feel like it would be as exciting for shows and gambling and stuff like that. Like, this is not the year I would do it, but I could see doing that another year, like spending some points and heading out there, maybe with the wife. Maybe not.
Everything show wise and obviously shut down, and all of the. And again, I'm like you just mentioned, I'm not a big gambler. Do I enjoy sitting down at a blackjack table from time to time? Sure. But I've also been to Vegas for extended periods of time and not put down even a single penny in any gambling way. And there's other times I've enjoyed myself in a different way. I did get a little hooked on roulette last time I was there. I'm not going to lie. It was a really good time, and I might have a tiny itch or urge to see if I can relive some of those roulette moments, because if there's a game that's based on skill, it's
roulette.
It's definitely roulette.
I mean,
let me promise you that. So a question that had come in and said, first of all, do I have any 2015 Memorial Buzz OSs?
Probably, but
I think I do.
But
I'd have to think about exactly the stamp they put on it, and if I Googled it, I could probably find it. But I do feel like I do have some, and I have a lot of Buzz OSs. I'll be the first to admit it didn't seem like
it wasn't
they were
popular
overly
disc.
popular in general, but everyone that came out in some limited run or fashion early on, I got a bunch of them. I have a ton of first runs.
They were glow with a black stamp, Terry.
Glow with a then I have a couple. Who knows where? Those
and
I
you
only
can
have
see
a
him
couple
this off season in our new series. Check out Terry's Storage.
I need a clever name for that.
Storage with Terry.
Somebody
Store and discs. Terry Miller.
Doc Zen said Gentlemen's Club Challenge sounds dirty for some reason. To be fair, whether it was, it was the name of the tournament, but to be fair, they did change it to
Las Vegas Open,
the Las Vegas Challenge, as opposed to the Gentlemen's Club Challenge. So that had been changed in the last couple of years. I think when it was getting on the national tour was when there was kind of the push or the demand or the requirement to change the name. Actually, someone Rod E had said something about my shows would be better if they had recaps, but I'm not allowed to show them.
It's not that you're not allowed to show the recap.
That's not the primary challenge as of right now. The primary challenge is the work and energy or effort and means to get the footage to then assemble it and make it accessible to me in an easy fashion. Like a lot of those things factor in more so. But I'll be brutally honest with you guys. I do think that would be a lot of fun. Is whether it's me or someone else pushing the buttons to recap a number of shots from the day. And I feel like the beginning of this season, were shots shown during the Disc Golf Pro Tour kind of recap that Mo and Mo and Jeff frequently did it? Well, the first two events.
Well, I think they recorded it and then Mo did it post production. So yes, I think he saved that
because that wasn't live.
That was not live.
Okay.
So he did do that, and it was a giant pain in the butt for him because it was a lot of work.
Exactly.
And so that's much more difficult. Now it's different because now Mo sits next to me. I have all of the events, highlights I clip, I export them, and I re-render them and put them as an MP4 format up in a shared folder. So I usually do that right after the event. Like right after each day I have to do that. So if you know, I can give you access to that if you ever want some of those highlights. They're usually labeled something along the lines of like Hannum, hole 3 drive, or roller if there's something weird, or a knee putt, or
sure.
And that's usually just the best shots. It's not all of them. I would say it's anywhere from 20 to 25 shots an event. Or not an event, sorry, a day.
Yeah.
Between MPO and FPO.
And again, now that we're at the end of the year, we could kind of refocus and or think about possibilities. Who knows where I'm going to be and how things are going to unfold in future events and years. But anything's possible, I suppose. But I completely agree and understand with what you're saying. Trust me, I don't love the fact that most of the show is just me talking into a camera and not giving you more action possibly from the day. Heber asks, Terry, word on the street is you have some Halo Wraiths? I think I do. I think I bought a bunch of the Wraiths and the Destroyers. I have a ton of them. Somebody also asked if I have some of the 10-year anniversary buzz. Oh, boy, do I. I don't know. Is 60 of them having some? I've got quite a few of those for sure.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think I have 3 or 4 of them back here somewhere, but I didn't get the stock that you did.
Yeah, I have quite a few of those. So I'm sorry that you need one and you lost yours. I can't help you. That I can't. such a dick.
You're the worst.
And then also Cody says, are the Halos more stable? According to Double G, because he throws a Halo Wraith, and I don't know how that thing contains his power. I know that's become what seems like a go-to disc of his, and I just think about Wraiths and their overall stability generally, and it seems like whatever is about his Halo Wraith that he throws, I think they have more stability to them for sure. Okay. Gosh, now what? Now what happens in the off season?
I was just thinking that earlier today. Like, I am happy. I'm happy to be done. I'm happy that we're in our off season. I'm happy that I'm not going to be stressed out doing switching and live broadcasts and stuff like that. But I'm going to miss it in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Mo and I joked, and I said, Mo, I love you, man. But if I don't see you for like 3 months, I'm not going to cry about it. Like, we spent so much time together. I don't know what's going to happen now. We're going to see some A tiers happen, obviously, throughout the off season. I think there's going to be a couple little live things happening through the Disc Golf Network. I know for sure the putting invitational is going to happen again.
Okay.
I don't know what else.
Yeah, I do know that I know there's a push. We'll put it out there again. There's a push to get your Disc Golf Network subscription. I think it comes in at an additional 10% discount. And then in one of the graphics that I don't have in front of me, but one of the graphics that talked about, like you just said, there's a couple of live events. So there's things that I know are in the works that have not been 100% finalized, but Disc Golf Network is very concerned with getting content that keeps you guys not just subscribed, that's obviously the goal, but keeps you interested and engaged and makes you feel fulfilled about having your Disc Golf Network subscription. We understand, I think everybody understands, the first thing somebody says is, well, the season's over, therefore I don't need my subscription, and should I just start it back up in a few months? Everybody understands that logic and that thought, and Disc Golf Network is saying, hey, let's create some content and give you guys some things to watch that keep you excited and engaged, even if it is the off season. So, yeah, I think you're going to see an onslaught of people like myself and other companies all doing some kind of catch up too, in terms of backlogs of any other footage either they either couldn't get done or was in an odd time to release. I think of the Norway footage that I have right now that will probably get released very soon, but it would have been weird to release it, say, mid-USDGC. Like, that's just not a good time when there's so many other things going on or whatever a conflicting event. Whereas if we release something, whether it's me or a GK Pro or a Central Coast, like, hopefully you're going to be chomping at the bit for some fresh new coverage, even if it is from a few months or a few weeks ago.
Here's one of the things I don't think we're going to see a lot of this offseason, and that's sponsor switching.
Maybe. Says you.
Says me. I think that we saw...
Do you have some inside track of... you've been hearing the deets out on the courses?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
I just think that we saw a lot of people start to sign 2- and 3-year agreements, like Kevin Jones had said a year or two ago, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of it. I think there will probably be 1 or maybe 2 big names. I know a lot of people are talking about like an Ezra Adderhold right now, that he's going to probably find some big sponsor, one of the bigger sponsors. But other than that, I don't think we're going to see the big shift that and nothing's going to be as big as, Paul and Paige or Ricky switching sponsors. Sure. But I don't think you're going to see a big shift this off season. Maybe 1, maybe 2 players, but overall, I believe right now a lot of players are pretty happy with where they're at. So I'll be curious to see, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of movement.
Nova has a suggestion that we've heard before, and I think is a good one, assuming we can get some people that want to oblige, and it says having reps on the show to talk about, there's a lot of things, but having some of our manufacturer reps on the shows, whether they're part of the design process or fulfillment or whatever part, but having individuals that are directly involved with our disc golf manufacturers, and you could go as specific as a Dave Dunapace over at Innova, or obviously we've had Rusko on talking about a number of different topics throughout the years, but get a little bit more involved with some of the actual direct reps from the manufacturers, and that's certainly a direction that we can go during this off season.
For the most part, I leave the booking up to you for this show, because you see most of these players after they win, like Kevin, taps in, Terry's right away all in his ear, like Tuesday night, Kevin.
We have a date. I love saying that to him.
I know.
Date night.
I know.
Tuesday, Kevin. See you there.
But I would love to see some different faces. I'd love to see a Joe Chargaloff, because who we haven't had on, Mary Sicard. I'd love to see Dave Dunapace come on the show.
Sure.
Maybe someday we get the champ, get Kenny on here. Those are a lot of off-season things I would love if you just got on that, Tara. If you just did that.
Yeah, I'll just
please
demand. I'm to the point where I just demand.
I know. You put your foot down, yes. And no, I think that would be pretty cool to see some of those players. And honestly, what I would love as well, and I don't know if they're up for it or not, but if you're overseas and watching, some of the overseas players, we haven't heard from them. They had their season, and I feel like we barely touched on it. Your Kristen Tatar, your Seppo, your everybody over there. Just I would love to kind of catch up. So and it's cold, it's snowy there now. They can't leave the house because of the 10 feet of snow. All they can do is watch SmashBoxx.
Yeah.
Reach out to us. We'd love to have you on.
Yes, and we, of course, will be having more Dana. I did talk to Dana today, and
do we have to?
Yeah, well, but once
Is it in our contract?
Once we had lined up both Hailey and Kevin, then I told Dana to take a hike and get back into the back seat. I did see Yuli this last weekend, of course, and he said sorry for not being available, and I said we'll take you whenever. No problem whatsoever. So some of those regulars, I think we'll see some more segments from our contributors as well. So there's a lot of different ways we can go about it. Cody asked, will we see another tour set up doing big events like the DGPT? So we would have 2 big tours going on during the year, say an Adidas tour with big money, maybe 10 events.
No.
Well, Cody, the first answer that I think a lot of people would gravitate to is say, we also have the national tour. The national tour has been the last couple of years, 6 events. It certainly preceded by more than a decade. It preceded the Pro Tour. The state of where the national tour is, it's all of the events that were to happen in 2020 are granted their position and or tier determination, whatever, is all made for 2021. So we're going to see all of that. So that's 6 events. And you add in the 10 plus events on the Pro Tour, then you add in a few Silver Series events, and you absolutely can be on the tour full time, playing almost every single weekend from February to October. And then and then if you go international, and then like we say, a lot of times the players will then fill in with A tiers that maybe don't match any of those other criteria. The only way any other tour exists that draws the players is it would have to emulate and copy all of the best attributes of the Pro Tour and the National Tour. That's the only way that it draws traction, because right now Paige Pierce has no reason to go take a chance on any other tour, so to speak, and she would never give up her weekend on a Pro Tour event to go play some unproven event or unproven tour stop. So could it happen? It would take such a ginormous effort to have good courses under good leadership with great money that's also on the tour or in route. It would take all of those things for another tour to emerge. I can't say it couldn't happen. I just think the Pro Tour has such a stronghold now in the idea of having a cohesive, logical tour that it's going to be really tough. I mean, and think about what the Pro Tour does, not just financially for the players, but in terms of the media, having the live, having post, having everything that it's doing for the players. It's to use the cliche, it's really for the players. And if somebody else wanted to come out and challenge and or make their own tour, they would have to check all of those boxes and somehow still prove themselves. And that's just a really tall task. A Mexico tour for the winner, you need great courses, good TDs, and good money. The weather might be nice, but you need all those other things still. And to be fair, some of our players are just mentally and physically done and are definitely going to kind of just check out for a few months.
Yeah,
which is perfectly feasible or logical. Last time I saw you was in Bourbon Cowboy, GBO 2016. Hope all is well to you both.
Oh,
Bourbon
sure.
Cowboy. I don't know. What's that?
So I have something lined up real quick.
Okay.
It's only about a minute long. It is because I didn't get a chance to do it this weekend, and I'm not going to at this point. Do you want to see some of the worst shots from this weekend, Terry?
Oh, gosh, I already saw them all. They kept me up at night. Nightmares. Every night, I'm like, oh, God, don't hit that tree.
Oh, no, there's a lot of tree hits there.
All right, let's take a look. What have you?
I literally just looked for anything I labeled as tree. So these are some of the worst tree shots that we have.
Okay.
Let's
tree
take a
has
look.
its own category here at SmashBoxx.
Yes, I label any tree, any massive tree hit with the word tree, so I can find it later for my not fives usually. So we're gonna.
All right.
So this first one we have here is Kevin Jones. I believe this is on the. This might be the gauntlet hole. Oh. All right. Well.
Wow, it definitely sounds like the Halloween ghosts are out.
I think that's hopefully that's just for us. I think.
Not so.
Yep. Oh, there we go. That's why everyone was hearing it. Perfect. Here's it from a different angle. Ooh, that's
same tree.
Same tree he got. That definitely wasn't the thing. All right, here's Double G in his beautiful shirt. He is he's
So
lining
this
up on hole 9.
Yep, this is the one we saw Kevin slip earlier.
Oh,
and
we're not going to see it apparently. I must have cut that one wrong.
Okay.
Here is Missy Cannon right in front of her.
I got it.
Yep. And our last one is going to be Holly Finley. Our camera is like I don't trim I trim these with extra padding, so you're going to see what some of the stuff. Yeah, sorry, Holly.
What? Where? Oh, is that hole 1?
That might have
that's
been
from-
that might have been hole 1. So this is actually what I tend to see. Like this is what you guys don't normally see, where we cut away from. But because I record the entire camera shot, you get to see all of it there. And when I release those, I trim them up. But it's always nice to have extra padding so I can cut whenever I want to.
That's my health plan. Always nice to have a little extra padding so I can cut whenever I want to.
Did I hear correctly? Does JVD pronounce nightmare as nightmare? No, it's a nightmare. Like I pronounce it nightmare. Like it sounds like MEER, but I don't say nightmare.
A
I say
nightmare?
a nightmare.
Oh yeah, we definitely say it differently. Then.
How do you say it?
Nightmare?
Nightmare? Like you say it like it's spelled.
Like night, and then
word-
phonetically. Well, not phonetically. Spelling it almost sounds like night and then mayor, like mayor of a city, like nightmare.
Not like mayor of a city.
Not like, but I
That's
wouldn't
too- that's
emphasize.
too-
Yeah, I wouldn't emphasize the Y-O. But yeah, nightmare. It's a nightmare.
I know, and I pronounce it like nightmare, like
Yeah,
MEER.
Wow.
I always have nightmare.
I'm glad everyone has pointed out Johnny V being wrong again. Thank
No,
you.
and I know that's just the way it's always come out. It's always been just a nightmare, not nightmare.
Wow, I've
but
never
nightmare.
noticed it before. So
Well,
I'm glad
I've
it's
never talked
pointed
to you
out.
about my nightmares because you're usually in them probably.
Exactly. Huh. Wow, these are the these are the heavy hitting topics.
Jira
here.
says, John, how do you not get motion sickness from that footage? I don't know. I don't, because I see all 4 cameras and they're all moving around at the same time in these little bitty boxes on my screen. So I just sit and watch and wait for somebody to steady up, and then I do it. I literally, it doesn't bother me. I don't know why. But something like that we would cut off of and go to a steady shot of somebody else, hopefully at their next lie. And the cameraman ups and moves and gets it, which it's, that's the stuff you get with live. The post-production guys get to cut all that out, and hopefully we don't show it. Hopefully it's technically cut for us. I know sometimes our guys are a little jumpy, and sometimes the communication from the booth isn't the best. So,
Or sometimes you're too slow to hit a button.
Sometimes I'm too slow to hit a button. I mean, a lot of times it is here or there. Sometimes they don't hear me. Sometimes I'll say, "Hey, I'm still on you. I'm on camera 4," and he doesn't necessarily register it or hear it, and he up and moves. Sometimes they have to move. So sometimes if they're going crazy like you saw, then they don't know that we're on them. If they're up and just kind of shifting, then they usually know.
Yes, someone mentioned earlier. Well, actually, yes, we're 2 minutes away from my daughter's birthday, and again, that's my slightly more mature, responsible daughter. So she's actually sleeping. Her younger sister is probably up doing something she shouldn't be doing right now at home. Cody asks, do the live view packs, which are what provide the signal to some satellites and servers that kick back to Johnny, do the live view packs work on cell data or a satellite feed? And it's uploaded through the cellular. So it bonds cellular stream together to then upload it. And so cellular is our number one concern as to how good signal can possibly be. If you go somewhere and it's just a dead zone for cellular data, then we're not going to have a good live show using our existing equipment. Which
Milo.
is the downside to Milo McIver and to a number of other places. If there's not good cell coverage for data, we're dead in the water at that point.
Yeah, for certain. It is. We have each unit has 4 modems in them, or SIM cards. Some of them have SIMs, some of them have external modems. It's usually an AT&T, a T-Mobile, a Verizon, and then one of them I think has a Sprint card in it yet, but the other one usually doubles up on either AT&T or Verizon. So sometimes one of them I think has 2 Verizons, one of them has 2 AT&Ts, someone has a T-Mobile and a Sprint. So all those get bonded together. They get linked so that, you know, if one happens to go down, it still works. It sends it up to a server, which then more or less disassembles it and unbonds it, and then it sends it from there over to the server here at the studio, where then it comes into my system. Someone asked about the commentators. Do the commentators see all the cameras? Most of them. They have what we say is it calls a quad screen. They could see them all. We have a couple options, whether it's a 4 or an 8. The commentators prefer the 4 because once you get to 8, the screens get pretty small, and it's a lot harder to call the golf when you see it in something half the size of your phone,
like a 2x2 inch square on your on a screen.
And so they prefer the quad screen so that they can see where everything is. It's much bigger for them. And then they're only seeing 4. So then we pick the 2 that usually Mo wants to see. The top ones are always what's live and what's coming up. And then the bottom ones are usually camera, like whatever the FPO camera is. So when we have the FPO on the course, but we're not necessarily covering them, Val can watch that and get her ideas. And then the other one is, you know, whatever camera happens to be in there, camera 3 or 2 or whatever. So they can see that and kind of have a general idea. Because you'll even hear that sometimes, and Mo hates it. Mo hates it when Nate Doss will say something like, "Oh, on the other screen that we saw, the disc just landed right behind
I
the
did
tree."
that a few times as well.
I know, and Mo hates that. Mo's like, "Don't say what they can't see," and it's just it's instinct. It's
I think there's a fine line.
He would rather.
How much insight are you providing?
He would rather have you say something like, "Oh, it landed behind the tree," not I see on another screen. He doesn't want you to tell him that you can see it, because then he thinks, well, if they can see it, how come I can't see it? And it might just be that that the camera wasn't set completely, or maybe they were askew a little bit, or they were blocked in another way for the next shot. So if you go to them, then they have to like swing around. There are all sorts of reasons why we don't necessarily go to a shot, but the camera may see it. Or maybe that's just a camera. What happens a lot of times is our catch camera, we relieve him to go to the next hole. But sometimes if I say, okay, camera 2, you're clear to go, that means he can get in his next position. If it's a really short walk, sometimes he'll just kind of hang out just off the fairway, and maybe he'll get a slight angle that nobody else sees. Just because he's hanging out there, he doesn't need to get going. So Nate will maybe see something like that. It's definitely interesting the way things kind of play out.
Sam Martin had said, good job, Johnny, on don't remember any hot mic issues all year. Well, I can think of at least one, and I'm not just talking about our podcast 2 weeks ago, because that's technically not part of this.
Were you showing? No, I definitely had. There was a hot mic or two.
There was a hot mic or two throughout the year. So
was it as bad as the Aikman one?
Non-kudos to you for not remembering every minute of this year's broadcast. Okay? So much for you making the research team.
Did you hear about the hot mic?
I vaguely recall something about
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman this past weekend.
Oh, maybe I didn't hear this one then.
Basically, they thought they were off camera, of course, and they were doing the military flyover.
Okay.
And Troy Aikman says something like, more or less, that's a waste of your tax dollars right there. Or that's a waste. Like, jet fuel costs a lot of money. That's a waste of money. And Joe Buck, in his announcer voice, goes, "And there you go with a big waste of your taxpayer dollars," as the military flyover was going over. And then Troy Aikman says something along the lines of, "You won't get that with a Biden Kamala ticket." And I don't know if he was talking like, you won't get military flyovers, you won't get waste. I think there's definitely some leeway to, if you listen to it, to hear if he is pro-Biden or anti-Biden. I think you could literally listen to it either way, and then the mics were cut. So they had, and this was just this weekend, they had a hot mic issue with them. Thankfully, they didn't say anything really bad, but there's a lot of people kind of jumping on them saying how, oh, you're totally fake with your military, and it's a partisan issue at this point.
For sure, and that's why.
And I'll say, I understand the promotion of the military and this and that, but it probably is pretty expensive to fly those jets over a lot of different athletic events and stuff. And is it money you don't have to spend? Probably. Is it money that's like it's advertising dollars? So the military has that. They have an advertising budget. So does it go in there? I don't know. I don't know budgets, but I can kind of see that. Yeah, go ahead and take a look out at the Aikman hot mic, and that's all you need to type, and it will be out there. It's him and Joe Buck.
Yeah, I guess I didn't. I definitely did not hear.
I just heard about
one.
it today.
Okay. Also,
yeah, Nova says all mics are hot. 100%. Nate Doss and Jamie say the same thing, because they will make jokes on occasion, but nothing that couldn't be said in public. But that's Nate's motto. Nate's like, if there's a mic, I just assume it's hot.
That's
a good way to live.
Assumption. Ray says, my only critical feedback for Disc Golf Network in 2021 is the playback DVR function for the app and the website. You have covered it, and I'll be patient. Yeah. And basically just saying you'd like it to render and process quicker is
that
what he is.
That, and when you're watching, I think on the web interface.
Okay.
I think when it's live, there's not good shortcuts, or like with your keyboard or something. I forget. I've never watched it live because I'm watching it live. But yeah.
Okay. A lot of people talking about that. It will be interesting. I want to go back and watch it for myself. And here's the funny part about all that, right? And it's not just just knowing they're a multi-billion-dollar operation.
It makes me feel a little better. Like,
well, don't get a big head about your mess ups, all right?
But when I catch you eating French fries in between our, in the after show, or when I accidentally miss a checkbox here in the audio mixer, and it's supposed to be set to this, but I'm supposed to turn it off, but I had it on for a specific reason earlier. It makes me feel less worse to know that these people that are getting these giant productions mess it up too, and I'm like, all right, cool. I try not to do it, but at least I'm not the only one. Yeah, and turn off your Zoom before you before you stand up without any pants on, please. Jeffrey Tubin.
Yeah. Okay. I mean
that's why Terry doesn't stand up.
No, at no point during the show I make sure that I never stand up here. All right, guys. I don't think we have much more. We have covered quite a few things here tonight.
We just need to give something away.
Oh, gosh. Well, why don't you do that? Let's give something away. And just so we're clear, because it's been almost exactly 3 hours since I got a plug-in for my disc mailers and shipping boxes. But just to be clear, I'm going to bring this all around. Someone posted a picture of a disc box where they received a disc or multiple discs, and they said, does anyone know where I can buy these boxes? And that's a fair question. The funny part was it was one I shipped them. So I'm the one that actually sells and produces these boxes, and someone had asked, where does anyone know where I can get these? So clearly the word is not out enough that I offer them. If you need 100 boxes for shipping discs, they come in 100 count packs, reach out to me. We can make that happen. I am your guy for it. So when you receive a disc or something from our SmashBoxxTV giveaways, that is a sample of exactly what I'm talking about. All right, Johnny, let's pull for a free giveaway.
Let's do a giveaway. If you want to be eligible for this giveaway, you can join us and our Patreon at patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. I want to thank everyone who is out there that is a Patreon supporter. For as little as $1 a month, you can be eligible to be entered into this drawing automatically, or you can go to smashboxx.tv/weeklywinners. I think it's weekly winners, weekly giveaway. I don't know, but people knows. You know who knows? Jeff Carson. You know who doesn't need to know? Jeff Carson. Jeff Carson fills one out, even though he's a Patreon supporter. So, Jeff, I do delete it every week because you can only be in the entry once, but I do appreciate your dedication to trying to get 2 entries
He
in
just
there.
set up that's a script.
Maybe. I don't care.
I'm just saying, like, he doesn't log in every single week.
He might.
And if he does,
He might. Good for him.
Jeff, good for you.
It's a real simple thing. You go in there, you put your address, you put your phone number, your social security number, your kids, your birth dates, your mom's maiden name, and then you're eligible. No, I think you just have to put your name, your email address, and then your address so we can send you whatever we get. But it's much appreciated. We have 199 9 times of people who are eligible for this giveaway, Terry Miller.
I have a great giveaway.
Oh, what is your great giveaway?
Oh, and it's a little biased. I'll be the first to admit I apologize. I have a signed disc by none other than KJ USA. And I would love to send you this Disc Golf Guy stamped, but KJ USA signed disc. And I will send it out to tonight's winner. Now, I say it's biased because I was hoping to also get Hailey's autograph on these discs as well. Unfortunately, when I got them out and ready to get autographs on them, Hailey was already gone. So you just get a KJ USA autographed Disc Golf Guy disc. But things could be worse. Life could be worse.
Well, we know who doesn't believe in equality here.
Yeah, it's definitely me. And in fact, I was thinking about flying Hailey back to Wisconsin, meeting her at the Milwaukee airport, and just saying, "Hey, sign these discs for me," and then put her back on a plane.
Put her back on a plane.
Go enjoy your off season. But I seriously am excited that tonight's winner will get a Kevin Jones autographed.
That's great.
Disc Golf Guy disc.
Cool. All right. So
all right, here it goes.
We have 199 entrants, Terry. What number should we draw? What number? Generate a number.
I think it's only fair because of the equality, because of the payouts. I think you generate 20,000 numbers.
All right, ready? Number one.
Wow. What did we just say? It was our 5th year of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And so I think the 5th number you draw seems appropriate here tonight for someone to receive a Kevin Jones autographed Disc Golf Guy stamped disc.
All right, so number 1 is 114. Number 2 is 32.
Loser.
Number 3,
Loser.
108. Number 4, 18.
Still a loser.
Not a loser. Number 5 is number 68.
Whoever is number 68 in
68. I sorted by first name.
All right.
Federico Sorensen. Congratulations, Federico Sorensen.
There you have it. Congratulations. You will be getting a Kevin Jones autographed disc. If anybody else wants one, they're under my pillow, and you can't have them. That's where they're going to stay.
He is a supporter at the $5 level. Congratulations, Federico. And he's overseas. So
yes, I have shipped to him before.
Awesome.
So super excited. We very much appreciate it, Federico. Some people are talking about shipping discs now. That's a hot topic, as it should be.
Well, you know.
All right. One heck of a season. Who knows what next weekend will bring? Maybe a Vegas recap. Let's hope I don't get stuck in Vegas for an extended week or 3.
Wait, are you going there?
Yeah, I'm going Thursday.
Oh, I didn't realize you were actually going there. I thought you were just talking about it.
No, I'm out. I get my daughter's birthday in tomorrow, and I'm back on the road, man. I got disc golf to cover.
I'll be in Florida next week. So,
you covering any golf?
No, there's no golf where I'm going. St. Augustine for just 2 days. Flying in on a Wednesday, getting out on Friday.
Yeah, okay. Well, no. I hope to leave Vegas alive. All right. So looking forward to who knows? Maybe we'll have the Vegas winner from next week. Maybe some other event. We'll see how it unfolds. But I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you. Not only our live viewers and listeners every single Tuesday night, so many of our very loyal and active board members who chime in on the message boards, whether it's Facebook or YouTube. We really do appreciate your input, your feedback, your thoughts as the show is going on live. We feel it's so much more interactive, and let's be fair, it's better because you guys keep things rolling with great topics and great questions and conversations. We got to thank our Pro Tour champions that joined us a little earlier, Hayley King, along with Kevin Jones. Phenomenal performances, all thanks to the Disc Golf Pro Tour giving them the platform and the events and the venues and the sponsors and the teams and the collaborations and the media that all accompany it. Just what a huge effort put in by so many people to give us what we have so we can all sit around and babble on a Tuesday night about the sport we all love in disc golf. For Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that has been SmashBoxxTV Podcast After Show number 320. We love you, and we'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.